seasons come and go like thoughts of you. Like a wave returns to the sea, into the blue. They change but in a cycle that I can't lose. Each painful but delightful to live through. You came into my life just a good another season. Not for long, just a time, just a good another season. You came into my life just a good another season. Not for long, just a time, just a good another season. The seasons turn and change just like your mind. Like the sun gives into the moon, into the night. Time continues marching, it slowly crawls. With each new one starting, I recall. You came into my life just a good another season. Not for long, just a time, just a good another season. You came into my life just a good another season. Not for long, just a time, just a good another season. You
Man, I look like a fucking cholo right now. This fucking flannel makes me look like I'm a fucking cholo, but not Mexican. Ooh, 1 second. I decided that each week I was gonna learn a new little thing. Like a new thing that I wanted to learn every week. And this week, I've never learned how to shuffle a deck of cards, but I decided this week that I was gonna learn how to shuffle a deck of cards. Because when I was in jail, I didn't know how to. So. But it's pretty easy. I already watched a video and I learned how to do it in like not that long. Ah, shit. Ah, that was bad. That was a bad bridge. But I'm getting there. The first like cards that I release, I feel I release like too many. And then it gets to where they're consistent. So when I do the bridge, it doesn't fucking work. I don't know why. Yeah, no, but I decided to try to learn a new thing every week and get good at it. And then also, actually, and then to like memorize a passage from the Bible. This week I'm gonna memorize Matthew 6:25 through 34. One sec. I'll open up my one. Matthew 25. Matthew 6:25 through 34.
According to BibleRef.
See? Can you see all that? Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you eat or drink, about your body, what you will wear. It is not life more than food, and body more than clothes. Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. You are not much more valuable. You are not much more valuable. You are not much more valuable than they. Can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? And why do you worry about clothes? See how the flowers or the fields grow? They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you, that not even Solomon in his splendor was dressed like one of these. Ooh. This is how God clothes the grass. Tomorrow is thrown into fire. Not much more clothe you of little faith. So don't worry. Say, what shall we eat? Or what shall we drink? Or what shall we wear? For pagans run after these things. Your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. I thought that was a pretty good passage because when I was in jail I read that and I was like, ooh, I want to memorize that. So that's my plan for this week, is to learn how to shuffle a deck of cards really well, and then also to memorize a passage from the Bible, or this passage. I also decided that I was going to hang up a quote every week too. So this week's quote is by C.S. Lewis, and it's aim at heaven and you will get earth thrown in. Aim at earth and you will get neither. I feel like it kind of worked, both of those two things. I didn't plan on them to work together, but they kind of work together. The passage that I picked and then the C.S. Lewis quote that I picked kind of both work together, I feel like. So that's kind of cool, you know? But anyways, let's get into playing some Risk. I'm going to see if one ball's on. Oh. Alright, let's get a video running while we play a game of Risk. You guys want to watch a video about the Gulf War, or just a random video?
These men disappeared 48 hours ago. She'd never have touched this case.
No matter how you like to bank, at Horizon Credit Union, we're always by your side. When you need
account for culture, geography, economics, politics, and more. The result is this new map of about 80 states and territories, and every state we've spoken.
Alright, I will. Give me one sec. I'm gonna go switch over the laundry. those balls are gonna make it loud. Aw, damn it. What's up, dog? What are you doing, One Ball? Nice. Oh. Fucking. Thanks, dog. I got it for Christmas. Oh, yeah, you already knew that. You were the one who brought it in when you lived here. Ugh. I'm trying to memorize a passage from the Bible every once a week. And it's the one that I picked this week is Matthew 6:25 through 34. Ooh, what's the plan? What's the plan? What's the plan? We go. Hi. We go right here. And then attack that 4 into that 2, maybe? Yeah. And attack phase. And then we go boom. Boom. There we go.
Repeatedly about the need for the states to be redrawn. Now, we've finally done something about it.
What
About
the
60
fuck?
community members came together for the Balkanization Proclamation to redraw the states of the United States to account for culture, geography, economics, politics, and more. The result is this new map of about 80 states and territories, and every state having a population of at least 1 million, and straight lines virtually abolished across the map in favor of geographic boundaries following rivers and mountain ranges. In this video, we'll be going over every
I don't
state
like
in the
that.
eastern half of the country and its justification for existence. This video turned out longer than expected, so we'll be covering the western states in a second video soon after. Hello audience, Mr. Z here with another video for you. If you're new to the channel, welcome. We have videos like this every week, so be sure to subscribe and stay tuned. Now, before we go any further, I would like to take a moment to thank everyone who has donated to us on Patreon and right here on YouTube through channel memberships. Having dealt with demonetization and even censorship in the past, especially when covering more sensitive topics, support from our patrons and donors helps make regular videos possible. Every donation goes a long way to keeping our channel going, and as a show of thanks, if you donate to help support the channel... you'll
Okay,
get
I
access
actually
to some
don't give a
great
fuck
perks,
about
including
this
physical
video.
merchandise.
Let's watch this one. I actually like 4chan, okay? I think that there's some funny shit on there.
Brand new online World War II shooter. Command a squad of soldiers and participate in legendary battles of the Second World War. Right now, you can join.
If 4chan was a person, it would most likely find itself locked up for life. The keys abruptly thrown away, and that's because of the 1.3 billion sites on the internet. 4chan is one of the most degenerate. Even though 4chan's boards are primarily used to share harmless enough stuff, anime-related images and the like, even some political content, being one of the ultimate hubs for free speech on the internet, there is another side, a dark shadow attracting some of the
Yeah, it
worst
has a
criminals
lot
on
of
the
fucking...
internet, violent and cold-blooded killers. And to truly understand the depth and darkness of 4chan, we gotta start off by discussing David Kalik, the 4chan murderer. He was
I
a
don't know
troubled
who the fuck
individual with
this
a history
is.
of alcohol abuse, regularly hurting people in his drunken states, and his heavy alcohol use would result in profound personality changes, delusions, and the identification of false threats. In November of 2014, it would also play a role in a brutal murder. Reflecting on a truly despicable act of barbarity, David Kalik said, "It's a really difficult thing to wrap my head around. On one hand, I have memories of what I believe happened. On the other hand, I have multiple people saying that what I remember
Fuck,
is
I can't do the
These
bridge,
comments came
bro.
after Kalik had a violent altercation with Amber Lynn Copeland. in her small apartment. Although the two who lived together on the outskirts of Seattle at the time of the unsavory incident argued frequently, Kalik said he considered her to be one of his best friends. However, Kalik would end up strangling his supposed best friend to death.
What
After
the
killing
fuck?
Copeland, Karak shared gruesome images of the crime on 4chan. On the run for more than 24 hours, he was involved in a high-speed chase with police before eventually being apprehended by authorities in Wilsonville, Oregon. Shortly after, he would be charged with second-degree murder of Mrs. Copeland. In a truly horrific moment, Kalik used a shoelace to strangle his victim and then took explicit photographs of her lifeless body, which he would upload to 4chan, also posting messages boasting about the incident and describing the victim's struggle. And this brutal killing would be infamous on 4chan, with the user being known as the 4chan murderer. But at the time, other 4chan users really questioned the authenticity of the photos. On 4chan, everyone's seen everything. There is no trust or authority. There is no moderation. You can post whatever you want. And for most 4chan users, they've seen some of the most gruesome stuff imaginable. But to make sure his fellow 4chan users knew that this was real, Kalik chillingly stated that the news would soon report the discovery of Copeland's body by her son. He further revealed his intention to provoke law enforcement into shooting him by brandishing a BB gun, a phenomenon more common than you might think. But around 30 minutes after his 4chan postings, Copeland's lifeless body was discovered by her 13-year-old son. Upon arrival, the police were confronted with a horrific scene. Copeland's body was surrounded by handwritten messages, one of which read, "She killed me first," was written on the bedroom wall. The blinds had the words "bad news" written on them, and her driving license found next to her lifeless body had the word "dead"
She killed me first. What the fuck?
described on it. According to investigators, neighbors reported hearing violent thumping and banging throughout the night. Additionally, Kalik had sent a text message to a friend, hinting that he would make headlines. But rather disturbingly, according to prosecutors, Kalik allegedly bit her lifeless body and used a Sharpie to draw numerous arrows pointing to the teeth imprints. Kalik eventually got sentenced to 82 years in prison. But the way in which he used
accepted my
4chan
friend.
to signal his intentions to share the results of his homicidal act really shocked America and the broader world. Because before this, 4chan was just seen as a place for weebs, a place for geeky internet users to come together and share whatever the hell they wanted. But this time, people started to realize
There's a lot of
4chan had
right-wing
a much darker side than people imagined.
extremists
and this
on
wouldn't be
there.
the last time that 4chan would feature
Which is
heavily in an
based-
needless act of depraved brutality. Have you ever Googled yourself and were shocked to see your personal information exposed on one of those public listing sites? You see, data brokers are making a fortune selling your information to robocallers, spammers, and others who want to learn more about you, like where you live. But thanks to our sponsor Aura, they can identify data brokers exposing your information and submit opt-out requests on your behalf, as brokers are legally required to remove your information if you ask them to, but they make it super hard to do so let Aura handle it for you. Aura also does so much more to protect you
Let's
and
get
your
it.
family from online threats that you can't see, and it's so easy to get set up. You don't have to download to aura.com/moon to start your 2-week free trial, also linked below in the description. The anonymous nature of 4chan is perhaps its biggest selling point. Anonymity tends to bring out the very worst in humans, empowering individuals to share the most abhorrent, racist, and hateful comments conceivable. It also allows them to share images and ideas that they likely wouldn't share if they were forced to reveal their real identities. And increased anonymity goes hand in hand with extreme beliefs. 4chan is a virtual cesspool with extreme beliefs and vile content. And after an extended period of time, exposure to hate-filled violent content completely desensitizes its users. Specifically, it desensitizes them emotionally. Their limbic system is hijacked. They no longer feel what they once felt before. They build up a tolerance to images and ideas once considered shocking, now just a normal part of their day. So they go chasing
What the
more
fuck?
extreme content to reach the initial high.
How come
of
none
first
of my
discovering their favorite
3v
4chan boards. As exposure to hate and violence becomes more normalized, aggression and savage behavior are shown to increase. And this is particularly true when discussing impressionable teenagers. There is evidence that exposure to violence in early adolescence, both in the real world and online, is directly associated with emotional desensitization. A teenage boy who spends enough time on 4chan, for example, could see his brain completely rewired at one of his most sensitive periods in development, thus affecting his actions, beliefs, and behaviors in the most shocking ways imaginable. Not just with adult content, but also with just the general culture of 4chan. Which brings us to Ruben Braithwaite, who in 2013, at the age of 12, went to live with his father Chris and stepmother at Broadmoor Farm, located on the south coast of Wales. Now, according to reports,
Oh, they are gonna love that one! Just curious, how many more friends are we shopping for?
Let's see.
His stepmother,
Bro,
Fiona,
get this out of
loved
here.
Ruben
Can't you
deeply.
see that I
She
have to
cared
get
for him and
this?
encouraged the young boy to consider pursuing a university education. However, Ruben, uninterested in the possibility of third-level life, had other plans, and the care Fiona showed towards Ruben was not reciprocated. In fact, between 2013 and 2018, Ruben's hatred for his stepmother would intensify, eventually resulting in a brutal murder that would send shockwaves across the small town in which he was raised. From an early age, Ruben would develop an unhealthy obsession with exploring the darkest recesses of the internet, consuming an online diet rich in disturbing images and videos of extreme violence. And in 2018, Ruben was sentenced to life in prison after mercilessly murdering his stepmother, and the manner in which he executed his crime was particularly shocking, with the teen using an axe and a samurai sword to butcher his stepmother.
What the
Prior
fuck?
to this horrific incident, he had been exposed to some of the most graphic violence on 4chan, regularly consuming content depicting mass killings and beheadings. And after deceiving his 54-year-old animal-loving stepmother by luring her out of the house under the pretense of an injured cat, he would then proceed to strike her on the head with an axe and then slit her throat with the sword. And during the trial at Swansea Crown Court in Wales, the 17-year-old confessed that he was deeply dissatisfied with his life, yet too afraid to take away
Why
his own
would they
life,
do
ultimately
that?
desiring
That was
to be
the
apprehended
dumbest
by the
fucking move
authorities.
ever.
Worse still was that the whole thing was premeditated the night before the murder, while he lay in bed contemplating the gruesome act he would commit in less than 24 hours. So desensitized through his obsession with gore-filled images on 4chan, he was watching the blood drain out of his stepmother's body, and only then calling the police. But after being arrested, he told officers he was convinced he had to do it, and that his motivation was to shock people to change my life. His actions, certainly shocking, changed not just his life but everyone else who knew her, as all those around her knew her as a loving, caring woman. Prior to sentencing Ruben, the judge remarked after, quote, chatting to your stepmother,
Fuck.
you went outside, grabbed an axe from your father's workshop,
Still don't
and
have a
brought it
trade.
just outside the entrance to the cabin. You told the police that you went back inside and looked underneath your father's bed where you knew that there was a sword. You grabbed it.
There was
took
a
it
sword.
outside. Then
Bro,
with the axe in
what
your
the
hand,
fuck?
You went around to the window of
Just
the
a
living
sword
room and
under his
indicated
bed?
to your stepmother that there was something wrong with the cat in order to get her to join you outside. And as she stepped outside the door, you struck her in front of her skull with the blunt end of
The
the
fuck are
axe.
they
She
doing?
fell unconscious to the ground, and then you repeatedly struck her. And as you saw blood coming out of her skull, you used the samurai sword to slice open her neck. And it was only at this stage that you called the police. You explained also disturbingly that you had taken 2 photographs of her, one after the attack with the axe, and the next after you had used the sword. You had tried to upload these photographs to the 4chan website, but had been unsuccessful in that. You stated that you wanted to do this as a kind of confession. And in the run-up to this confession, Ruben had developed an unhealthy obsession with online content related to this graphic violence. There was no surprise that he wanted to post it to 4chan. He wanted to be a part of the people committing these heinous acts. After his arrest, law enforcement authorities discovered additional disturbing videos on his phone, which depicted gory scenes of road traffic accidents and mutilated bodies. A troubled teen with the darkest of thoughts, he was sentenced to 15 years behind bars, which actually means he could be walking the streets again less than a decade from now. On November 13th, 2022, 4 University of Idaho students were stabbed to death at an off-campus residence in Moscow, Idaho. On December 30th, more than a month after the murders, Brian Christopher Koberger was apprehended in Monroe County, Pennsylvania, where he currently faces charges of 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony burglary. And the prosecution is actively pursuing the death penalty in his case.
This morning, prosecutors say they will pursue the death
Bro, that guy looks like fucking, maybe not so much anymore, but right when he walked in, he looked like the guy from, Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
But one strange thing, like all of these people, was that Brian shared an intimate history with 4chan. But to understand why he did this, and why he was connected to 4chan, we need to understand his psychology. You see, the 29-year-old was always known as a weird oddball. He'd always suffered with drug addictions, and was actually arrested in 2014 for theft. A notorious loner, Brian, according to a former FBI investigator, may have committed his crimes as a way of asserting his dominance, the dominance he felt he lacked, with the investigators believing that the brutality of the crime and his long history of interpersonal problems may have provided some insight into his motive, as well as the development of an incel complex. According to one of his friends, he was regularly
An
ghosted by
incel complex? Based?
emails, and this would leave him feeling frustrated, where he exhibited a number of incel-like tendencies.
The thing we talk about a lot, the dating scene, it just got kind of just really hard, but he was just having a time, getting ghosted a lot, talking to a girl and then wondering, oh, why didn't she text back ever? I think he just felt frustrated. His just the biggest word.
Now, 4chan has, as many of you may know, been a safe haven for incels, a place for involuntary celibates who can't get sex to come together to hate women, and it seems even discuss murdering members of the opposite sex. As Vase Holly expertly outlined, prior to his arrest, Brian actually discussed his slayings on the controversial platform, and this would eventually lead him to getting caught, because as many criminal psychologists know, killers will often revisit the scene of their crimes, as it's been theorized by scholars of human behavior that guilt may actually play a role in such completely counterintuitive behavior. Individuals may revisit the scene due to an underlying desire to be apprehended. This notion can be traced back to the writings of Sigmund Freud, who explored the concept of an unconscious longing for capture and punishment. Ego may also play a role. In this digital era, it seems, discussing one's crimes on an anonymous message board has become the modern equivalent of revisiting the scene of the crime. And where better to discuss mindless acts of murder than 4chan? Brian, who rather ironically has a PhD in criminal psychology, couldn't help himself from
Bro,
scattering
Blue
digital
sucks.
Whether driven
Is
by
Blue
guilt-inflated
a
ego
bot or
combination of
something?
both, his lack of
'Cause
restraint
what the fuck
resulted
is
in his
Blue
downfall.
doing?
And not only did the 4chan poster know intimate details relating to the crime, the kind of details that
Goofy
only
fuck.
police officers would know, they also disclosed the location where they were hiding out, Pennsylvania. And this is exactly where Brian was discovered and arrested. As Holly also discusses, when apprehended, Brian just happened to be on 4chan at the time, posting gruesome details about the crimes he had committed. Everything on 4chan, insists Holly, is monitored very closely by the feds, and this is almost certainly true, and not necessarily something that we should celebrate. However, on this occasion, their work did pay off, and Brian, a disturbed individual with an unsettling history, was eventually apprehended. Although 4chan attracts cold-blooded killers, it also attracts criminals of a different nature, including fraudsters and exploitative opportunists. With that being said, let's discuss the 4chan coupon criminal. You've no doubt heard of extreme
Coupon
sports,
criminal?
Activities like
What did he
skydiving
call-
and bungee jumping.
what was he
But
called?
what about extreme couponing? This less strenuous activity sees individuals combine shopping skills with couponing. The goal is simple: to save as much money as possible while accumulating the most goods and services possible. And in 2011, Lucas Henderson, then a student studying computer security at the Rochester Institute of Technology in New York, was apprehended for allegedly distributing counterfeit internet coupons on 4chan. Henderson voluntarily surrendered himself to federal court and stood accused of producing fake coupons worth hundreds of thousands of dollars for various products, including Tide detergents and Sony's PlayStation. The US Department of Justice stated in a press release that Henderson's actions resulted.
I can't get the bridge, bro. What the
Worried
fuck?
about AI
All right.
taking your job? You should be
There we
worried
go.
about Amy.
Hi, I'm Amy.
Amy's been learning about AI on Brilliant.org, how it works, and how she can put it to work.
We can automate that.
On Brilliant, you can build skills in math, data, and computer science with bite-sized lessons that help you stay ahead, like Amy.
A promotion? Already?
Start your free 30-day trial at Brilliant.org before it's too late.
Matsudo knives do stand out from the crowd. The leather case and premium stone sharpener will let you keep this knife sharp for a very long time. Matsudo knives are made from stainless steel, using the same traditional techniques that blacksmiths use to forge samurai swords. This approach produces extra sharp knives.
Samurai
It's
swords, bro.
significant financial losses for retailers and manufacturers who honored the coupons. Henderson, then only 22, faced numerous charges including wire fraud and counterfeiting, which carry a maximum prison sentence of 30 years.
I'm so confused. I didn't even know
The
that
goal
this
is
was a
simple:
thing that
to
someone
save-
could do.
And coupon criminal. You've no doubt heard of extreme sports, activities like skydiving and bungee jumping, but what about extreme couponing? This less strenuous activity sees individuals combine shopping skills with couponing. The goal is simple: to save as much money as possible while accumulating the most goods and services possible. And in 2011, Lucas Henderson, then a student studying computer security at the Rochester Institute of Technology in New York, was apprehended
Yeah, Blue
for allegedly
sucks.
distributing counterfeit internet
Blue is a
coupons
rookie
on
for
4chan.
sure.
Henderson
I don't
voluntarily
think that I'll be
surrendered
able to
himself federal court,
kill
stood
him,
accused of
though.
producing fake coupons worth hundreds of
If I had a
thousands.
set, I would be able to kill him for sure, but let's see if Red tries to kill him. What's Red do? I'm gonna tell him to attack Blue. Yeah, there we go. Oh, no. Why would he... What the fuck? You douche. The fuck is he doing? Why would he do that? Okay, well. All right. Oh. Fucking idiot. Why the fuck would you do that? Don't attack me again, you dick.
Of dollars for various products, including Tide detergents and Sony's PlayStation. The US Department of Justice stated in a press release that Henderson's actions resulted in significant financial losses for retailers and manufacturers who honored the coupons. Henderson, then only 22, faced numerous charges including wire fraud and counterfeiting, which carry a maximum prison sentence of 30 years. According to FBI Special Agent Andre Cesario, Henderson utilized the anonymous Tor browser to conceal his online activities and posted coupons under the alias Anonymous123, Anonymous234, and Anonymous345. However, in October of 2011, Henderson made an error by posting multiple times using an IP address assigned to him at the Rochester Institute of Technology. His criminal activities ripped off Procter & Gamble, among many others, and so Henderson was apprehended due to the detection of unusual redemption patterns by News America Marketing, the coupon division of Rupert Murdoch's News Corp. On smartsource.com, the ability to identify these patterns stems from the requirement of users to download a specific print widget when printing online coupons on SmartSource, which prevents the creation of multiple copies of a coupon in PDF format. Henderson allegedly managed to bypass the software, enabling 4chan users, many of which are notorious hackers associated with the Anonymous movement, to print numerous coupons for Power Bars, Campbell's Soup, Smart Ones TV dinners, and Magic Hat beer.
TV dinners.
In December 2010 alone, consumers redeemed counterfeit coupons worth $200,000 for Tide laundry detergent within a span of just 2 to 3 weeks. But along with coupon criminals, other odd crimes involve role-playing, more specifically people role-playing as a bank robber. In 2018, a Georgia man was arrested and presented with felony charges after his detailed plan for a fantasy bank robbery was discovered online. The plan, which included images of the bank and the weapons the would-be robber intended to use, was posted on 4chan. A vigilant college student from Georgia Southern noticed the post and reported it to authorities. The witness stated that the forum post contained specific information about the bank's employees, suggesting that the person behind the plan had inside knowledge of the bank, adding credibility to the threat and raising concerns about the safety of the individuals mentioned.
In his post online, Tristan Gonzalez had very specific details about the bank behind me, including descriptions of some of the employees inside and how he was going to escape.
When it came to the postings, there was specific information about people who were employed at the bank that I guess lends credibility and suggests to the end user or reader that this person's been in that bank and interacted with those individuals.
Although the original posts were deleted, the Coweta County Sheriff's Office took charge of the investigation and contacted both the targeted bank and the FBI, who typically assist in bank robbery cases. As a precautionary measure, the bank temporarily closed down to ensure the safety of its employees.
And the bank was partially closed down for a day for the safety of its employees.
Any
Don't fucking do that
reasonably
again.
Person would have
You
to
cunt.
address a complaint like that.
What the fuck? Guy's pissing me off. Thinks they can just keep breaking me? The fuck do you think this is? What did he get? What did he trade?
That the alternative would be to do what?
There's one simple vision hack anyone can use to improve vision, so you can say goodbye to your optometrist for good. Did you know that vision impairments have nothing to do with your eyes? The eyes are simply a camera for the part of the brain responsible for your sight. Here's the truth. No matter what type of glasses you wear or what eye treatments you try, you're only treating the symptoms, not the root cause. So listen up. Eventually it will become harder and harder.
But nothing. And then if the bank was robbed, if someone were killed, what would people say then? They would say, you knew about this. What action did you
Bro,
take?
does he...
Soon after, the authorities successfully identified and apprehended the individual they suspected to be responsible for the online posts, a 20-year-old named Tristan Connor Gonzalez from Newnan. During the search of his residence, they even discovered a handgun. However, when questioned by investigators, Gonzalez claimed that his intention was never to actually carry out a bank robbery, stating that the messages he posted online were merely a form of role-playing.
Even if this was some sort of live
Role-playing?
Role-play or pretense.
What?
It's not a fantasy for the people that work in the bank who are now scared to come to work.
Despite Gonzalez's explanation, the investigators deemed the plans outlined in the post to be detailed enough to warrant charging him with 2 felonies: attempted robbery with a firearm and making terroristic threats, as well as a non-felony charge of criminal attempt. Although you would be forgiven for thinking otherwise, not everyone on 4chan is a degenerate loser with a penchant for criminal behavior. Some have actually used the controversial site for good to dish out their own form of vigilant justice. In China, there's a name for anonymous internet users who actively hunt down suspected criminals: human flesh search engines. And 4chan has its own set of human flesh search engines, and they are excellent at doing the very thing some police officers sometimes fail to do: identify dangerous criminals. And on that note, I want to introduce you to the 4chan cat lady. In 2014, a truly disturbing video started doing the rounds, where it showed a woman by the name of Mary Bale in Coventry, England, petting a cat, very much alive, before picking it up and throwing it in the trash. Soon after her disgraceful behavior, the woman was under police protection. But what happened between the dumping of the cat and the police officer standing outside her home? Well, this is where 4chan flesh engines come into play. Shortly after the video went viral, the 4chan community swiftly embarked on a mission to locate and ruin the life of the woman involved. The exact time frame is unclear, but it didn't take long for them to identify her. However, their efforts didn't stop there. They managed to uncover her workplace and proceeded to publicly disclose her boss's name and contact information. Additionally, they discovered her residential address and even shared a Google map pinpointing its location. To make matters worse, they even found her Facebook profile as well. And due to the concerning suggestions made regarding what should be done with this information, the local authorities intervened and assisted her in her hiding. This precautionary measure was certainly a wise decision, and it is worth noting that this was not the first instance where 4chan users had rallied to protect a cat that was subjected to cruelty in an online video. In a similar incident in 2009, 4chan has successfully tracked down a 15-year-old named Kenny Glenn, who had uploaded a video showcasing himself as the animal abuser and brutally assaulting the family cat, Dusty. During that time, the authorities also intervened, but solely to rescue Dusty. Kenny's parents were left to handle the situation, but all of this originated from a single video, and one important the animal abuser and brutally assaulting the family cat, Dusty. During that time, the authorities also intervened, but solely to rescue Dusty. Kenny's parents were left to handle the situation, but all of this originated from a single video. And one important lesson to take away from this video is that in today's digital world, people have the ability to use the internet for both good and bad, especially on 4chan. These people created Anonymous that helped take down terrorists. They have the ability to uncover almost any information they desire about others on 4chan. It's like a hive mind of everyone online who spends way too much time looking
online. Yeah.
And using this hive mind collective
it's a bunch of
noble
fucking
or nefarious
nerds.
purposes. More recently, in June of 2022, 4chan activists or hacktivists were in the news again, this time for interfering in the life of one of America's most discussed men, Hunter Biden. The alleged leak of Hunter Biden's personal data, ominously known as the iPhone from hell, went viral.
I've never heard it called that.
An user claimed to have hacked into Joe Biden's son's iCloud backup and then used a specific tool that enables the recovery of files from Apple's cloud backup sites. Shortly after the anonymous user made the claim, the files were mercilessly dissected by 4chan community members. The anonymous user claimed that the iPhone contains voicemails, videos, voice recordings, pictures, etc. of Joe. In this zip, they added 2 folders, one for an iPad and the other for iPhone backup. The post was accompanied by several screenshots that displayed the interface of a tool called iPhone Backup Extractor, which allows users to recover misplaced and or lost iPhone messages, photos, calendars, contacts, notes, locations, and data from the iPhone backups in iCloud. The 4chan revelation came 2 years after the New York Post obtained a copy of a laptop belonging to Hunter from a Delaware-based repair shop. The laptop allegedly contained emails between Hunter and his father, then Vice President of the US, and photos of the 53-year-old smoking crack and having sex with hookers. The takeaway message here, though, is simple. If 4chan users want to nail you, they eventually will, and when they do, who knows what these guys are gonna do next. But 4chan isn't evil per se. It is a beacon of free speech, and it should be protected. But then again, some of the worst people imaginable are its favorite users.
Israel is at war in an unprovoked, murderous attack.
Unprovoked. Okay.
Speaking
Let's not
of
go that far.
conservatives, and whether or not they would be able to stand up to schools of thought like Catholic social thoughts, which again is pretty much left-wing politics, radical left-wing politics from environmentalism to communism, but with under the banner of God and Jesus and the Bible. But from what I can tell, conservatives are increasingly abandoning individualism. They're throwing individualism into the garbage, including conservatives who used to speak the language of individualism. Like this clip right here, as you can see, it has the caption of American Revolution was liberation of individualism. This was by Charlie Kirk. He put this up on Turning Point USA. And he did say something interesting in this that I want to address really quick. Let's play a little bit of this.
Because there's 3 big revolutions that you can kind of chart human history right now. The 3 big revolutions. Talk about the American Revolution. Then there's the French Revolution and the Russian Revolution. 3 uniquely different philosophical trends. Russian and French have some in common. So the French Revolution, so the American Revolution was really originated from Lockean, more natural rights type ideas. Scottish Enlightenment type ideas, okay? For any philosophy majors out there?
Enlightenment ideas, huh?
Anyone? Yay, good for you guys.
Enlightenment ideas.
So, it's good. Get a double major in business or something. Yeah, so get an undergrad in something as well with that. But no, I think more people should study this philosophy. It's super important. So the Scottish Enlightenment, honestly, I think the most formative thinkers that built Western civilization. These are folks like Adam Smith, like John Locke, and the idea of natural.
What about Jesus?
Well, rights. What is natural rights?
What is natural rights?
It's that my rights upon your birth are with
upon your birth, huh?
The fuck is this guy?
Did I hear that correctly? Are we getting that?
I don't really even like what's his name, but like what the fuck is he bitching about this? Like what is he talking about?
Thinkers that built Western civilization. These are folks like Adam Smith, like John Locke, and the idea of natural rights. What is
natural rights?
Natural rights. It's that my rights upon your birth are
upon your birth.
This really is a David versus Goliath story.
This is the single funniest story that I have seen.
You only get rights at birth, so does that mean that we get to keep abortion legal? But it's not just Charlie Kirk. Ben Shapiro used to speak the language of individualism. During a Q&A he had years ago, this is according to an article from Lone Conservative, written in 2017 by Jeff Tomlin. Ben Shapiro destroys leftist idea of individualism being racist. And in this article, it cites a video, a Q&A that Ben Shapiro was doing at an event, saying conservatism says you don't get any special treatment if you're white, you don't get special treatment if you're black, you don't get special treatment if you're anything because you're an individual human being and your race should not matter.
You're goddamn right.
So that's these were conservatives like Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro. Now what are people like Ben Shapiro saying about individualism? Well, back in November of 2022, Ben Shapiro said that social institutions are important. They shape you and connect you to society. The left,
What are you on the left?
has made government the ultimate social institution and has replaced marriage and family with atomistic individualism. What the fuck does that even mean? Atomistic individualism. And are we
I don't get what...
really gonna go here after Ben kind of distinguished conservatism from the left years ago by rightly noting that, yeah, the left traditionally has been anti-individualism, at least outside of maybe a handful of centrists and moderates and self-proclaimed neoliberals that may speak the language of individualism in a lot of contexts, but largely the left is opposed to individualism. They're very collectivistic. The left, the socialist left, the identity politics left. Anything but I guess according to Ben Shapiro, that's what the left is promoting these days, is atomistic individualism. Is that what I'm supposed to believe now?
I don't like this guy.
Oh, Tucker Carlson beefing with Ben Shapiro. What y'all think about it?
Explain to me your fascination with Tucker.
I think that was a loaded question.
No, because you said, I find him interesting.
I do find him interesting.
Tell me why.
I think he's making a really smart play right now.
Which is?
I think he smells blood in the water with Ben. So again, I think that Tucker and Ben Shapiro and other groups as well are fighting for the same group of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's be the most generous and say middle to the right Americans. And Tucker knows that the Daily Wire is the largest independent version of those people, or the largest independent system that is satisfying those people. And those people are conflicted about Israel-Palestine. Ben Shapiro has got to lock in, or maybe he really wants to lock in, but I'm riding so hard, I'm making every single news story about this. We have to, talk for our people, we got to speak for our people, etc. And I think Tucker is in a position where he's like, I'm going to use this. He already sees the fan base being segregated on this, or separated, or whatever the fuck word I'm trying, fractured. Daily Wire's fan base on it. So he's like, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to scoop up all those people that aren't exactly into the reporting that Ben is doing.
Yeah,
so I think that this is a right-wing news play, and now that Tucker's in the space, he's like, let me gobble up some stuff and let me see what I can do.
Now
it's
he's
a smart
in the
move.
independent space.
Yeah. And his position on that specifically is like, I'm not emotionally invested in either side. I care about America.
Well, the thing that's really interesting is it's like what's up? Oh yeah. So the thing that's really interesting about his positioning is he's framing Ben as if he doesn't care about America by caring about Israel.
By caring about either side.
Or
Palestine.
Israel, exactly. Now, I don't think that we exist in America as people that can only care about one thing. I think it's an unfair framing. I think that you can be an American and Palestinian and care about what's happening in Palestine. I think you can be an American and Jew and care about what's happening in Israel. I think you can be an American and Indian and care about what's happening in fucking India. You can care about these things, and you can utilize whatever platform you want to support the things you care about. I think it's one of the most beautiful things about America is that we bring our culture. We live in a free society where we can bring our past cultures and celebrate them here. You can't do that everywhere. You can't go around celebrating your past cultures someplace because they'll be like, shut the fuck up, we just do this. Now, Tucker said something, my family's been here for hundreds of years, and it's like, okay, yeah, well, if you have no attachment to where you're from and of course you love America. That's all you have to love. you don't know what you are.
Yeah.
You don't know if you're from Prussia or you're from Sweden, you're from Norway. If you did, maybe you would feel compelled to speak on them as well.
Even that as a branding thing, though, is like, I'm American
I'm
through and
so
through.
American.
I'm so far removed
Yes.
from all that stuff,
Yeah.
I just can only be American.
That's all.
I
Now-
can't have the capacity to care.
Absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, I don't like that framing where we can only care about the things here, and also to imply that like if we cared about things in other places, it would take away from the opioid epidemic here. It almost felt a little bit like he was using the opioid crisis as a tool, which I don't like because it's like, Tucker, like you're interviewing the Wolf of Wall Street. What you doing for the opioid crisis?
You're
You
interviewing
know what I mean? Like,
Obama's gay
Well, I mean, he's not a drug addict anymore.
lover. Like, what
Exactly.
do you-
Yeah. You had Obama's opioid-using gay lover on the pod. Like, so stop acting. So, now you're talking. So it's like, so I get. I don't know. And maybe he has a lot of charity work that he's doing for him. Maybe he's donating money from those podcasts to this crisis. But the idea that he would be critical of somebody else using their platform for the things they cared about while he's using his platform for his own interests, I think is a bit hypocritical. Now, he's a sharp dude.
Yeah.
Tucker's a sharp dude, and he's been through the fucking ringer. Like, they came to his house. By they, I mean, like, people who hated him, protested against, like, they showed up at his house with his fucking children. So he's already had mud thrown all over him, and he's survived and continued to thrive. That's a dangerous man. You don't want to fuck with a man like that. Because
I think that blue and red are, like, working together. Because why the fuck is blue not attacking red at all?
most people have not experienced the worst of the worst, meaning what the public can do to you. Once you've experienced it and you know that you can get past it, bring it on. Like, bring it the fuck on. Now, Ben has also been through that. Ben has been the most hated person on the internet because that was his, before he became like a real journalist, he was just a troll that was like trying to piss black people off every single day. So he's also experienced the ire of the internet. Now he's tried to like reshape his image and been like, why can't we all get along? Even though he spent the majority of his fucking professional life trying to divide as much as he possibly could. But he's making that pivot. So seeing them go after it for the same audience would be quite interesting. I love it. No, dude, white on white crime.
Yeah,
Alice in love.
That's the best.
Yeah. But I wonder if there's other players that are going to come in too. I wonder if, because Daily Wire was like the only, it was it, and now there's going to be some people that are going, oh, why is there so much attention to this thing that's happening in the place? Listen, we live in New York, in Los Angeles, maybe in Miami. There's going to be a hyper focus on what's happening in the Middle East because there are so many people from there. We're talking about
Both
Palestinians and Jews in these cities, right?
Yeah.
We were talking to Derek the other day. We're like, yo, is everybody talking about the Middle East? What's going on in the Middle East? He goes, bro, we haven't had one conversation about it at the club. One. Now, I don't know if that's all Texas, but if they're not even talking about it amongst friends, it's not even being brought up, not off pod, it might not be a concern to the majority of the country. And if it's not a concern to the majority of the country and you're Ben and you're talking about it every single day because it's something you're passionate about, your audience might start to go, whoa.
Fatigued at the very least.
Wasn't Ben also beefing with Candace?
Candace as well. And he can't fire her because he's all free speech. So Candace got him by the balls. It's like, you gonna silence me? I thought you're the platform that was erected because we were being silenced. Now the second I disagree with you, you shut me down?
Yep.
Heavy is the head, yo. Heavy is the head.
It is.
Heavy is the head.
But I do think that there is a little jockeying going down, and especially with this election, you're going to see them start to pick sides in who they're partnering with. Now, Tucker, it seems he's cozied up with Trump, and they beefed.
Yeah.
Didn't Tucker shit all over Trump? Now they're hanging out at the fight.
This is where I kind of find so disingenuous. Is like, we know for a fact you were on Fox News praising Trump every day and then texting behind.
I'm going to take Blue out.
Texting off air. I hate this guy. He sucks. He's the worst thing to happen in America. Whatever you were saying. You're just doing the same thing. How do people not see through it? There's certain people.
And didn't he on air criticize too? Wasn't he very critical?
Maybe
towards
very
the end?
early, but as soon as it looked like Trump was winning, all of a sudden pro-Trump, support everything Trump does. He's not at fault for Jan 6 at all.
But that's the Fox institution.
That's the Fox institution. But
I would have conversations with those dudes off air, and they would tell me, they would be talking shit with
What's pissing me
talking
off?
Shit about Trump, and then the second that
Oh,
fucking
he's gonna
camera
die.
came on and that that red light popped on, it was just a dick ride marathon.
And but now you're independent. So I was like, all right, look, I can judge him for saying things he didn't believe to get a check, but we're all hypocritical to a degree, whatever. What I'm saying now, though, is now you're independent. You're just doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, you're independent now. You could go do whatever you want to. There's no boss. You're on your own, and you're just doing the same thing.
Freedom of speech.
But it's not free speech. It's speech that makes money. It's speech for profit.
Of course. But you can say
And
whatever you want.
I'm not as mad at him as I am curious. The people who bought in again, like the people who keep buying into Ted Cruz as being some authentic whatever. Like there's just example after example of these guys being disingenuous. How y'all keep Ben Shapiro? That motherfucker, I believe he believes everything he's saying, whether I agree or not. What I hear from him, what comes to me, seems a genuine. Israel Palestine, talks about Israel a lot. I believe he believes everything he's saying.
Yeah, I don't think that. Yeah, the only thing I would say he's disingenuous about is like wanting there to be, wanted the country to come together and like be part of what. I think that he cares more about monetizing his base than he does the whole country coming together.
Fair enough.
Yeah, because if the whole country comes together, he can't make movies that are poking fun at the left.
That's
He
fair.
can't. He's monetizing the ire of the right towards the left.
And that's where I guess what I'm doing isn't necessarily fair, because again, I think there are levels of hypocrisy to every human being. Just to me, it's a little worse in some cases. I think the farther end of the spectrum, I guess, is Tucker, Ted Cruz, probably AOC or whoever on the left. I'm sure there's people on the left, but like, how do we just?
I'm sure Tucker would say this though, like, yeah, I disagree with him, but I agree with him, and I want him for president, even though we've had.
But you shit on him in private text and public facing, front facing, always praised him. Now you're doing the exact same thing, and I don't even know if he's really addressed. I used to hate him. Here's where he won me back over.
I didn't see this. I just Googled it, and he was just like, yeah, they raided Mar-a-Lago. That's fucked up. I don't, like, there's things that I disagree with, but I'd still be a Trump supporter because you can't, do that. It's bigger than Trump. It's bigger than Biden. I want to live in a free country with a functioning justice system. So I'm sure he just takes it on political ground.
It's the same way where like
people hate Biden.
Yeah, it's also like a single issue voter.
Yeah.
So I think that Tucker is supporting who he thinks will protect the values, the American values that he cares about. And if it looks like the Trump administration is going to do that better than Biden or better than DeSantis or better than anybody else, he's like, okay, I'm going to ride with this, even though there are things that I really don't like. This is paramount.
Which I agree on its face is kind of hypocritical, but if you get into the nuance of it,
also that's what most people are. For example, like if you're a Jewish person in America and it looks like the right wing, part of the American government is more supportive of Israel.
I fuck
in this
you up.
war, you might vote Republican easily. Like for example, I'm sure if there was something with India. If only the Democrats were supporting India throughout this thing that you really cared about, you would at least be open to it.
Yeah, for sure. I guess my general feeling, and what you're saying isn't wrong, but my general feeling on him is it's a little fraudulent. It seems a little fraudulent to me, and it seems more fraudulent than a lot of these guys. Like it just seems a little more desperate when you're bringing on Obama's alleged gay lover who did like.
No, that was fire.
It's fire. It's fun. But if you're a serious journalist, it's wild for me to be like, yo, you're a serious journalist.
That was fun. I mean, that's important information. If somebody said they sucked the president's dick, you want to talk to him?
No.
Why are you sucking that thing so hard right when you said that, bro? That black fume, bro.
Yeah.
Wants to come on here? I would.
But she did for a fact. It's been proven. I want to hear what she has to say. Anybody could say I sucked the president's dick. So probably a lot of people saying it. A drug using dude. Like, all right, there's no real evidence to support anything you're saying.
I hear you.
A 1 hour interview.
I hear you have higher standards for Tucker than he has for himself, and that's what's frustrating for you.
Yes, and I
You
feel
haven't
like
attacked one red.
We as a people don't really. If a guy says one thing we believe in wholeheartedly, and I'll probably do the same shit. I'm not. Who am I to act like I'm so pious? But it just.
I'm out here
I'm
fucking-
looking at it objectively because I don't care too much about this, and I'm like, just feels a little gross to me what you're doing.
I can see that.
Maybe he's got an angle he's playing.
Oh, that I didn't think about that Ben Shapiro shit, but like that's a brilliant angle to just take market share.
Stay there.
This is real. I mean, like, he came up in the Fox
Put it
system.
right.
He's not a stupid guy, so he knows how they do business. He knows the political chess moves that are at play, and I'm sure that he's applying them to what he's doing.
Where does his show?
Yeah, bro.
live?
Fuck
Is it
Red.
Just, I think he only does X. Or
Red wants to play that fucking game. Now me.
it's like a private
Right,
website.
you're gonna
Yeah, but he
just
said,
continue.
I saw him do this in an interview. He's
think it's
going to
X.
have advertisers, but also keep the subscriber model because he knows at any moment he can lose a subscriber, the advertisers. So
yeah, it makes sense. That's why we got the
let's see.
Patreon.
And he also thinks like a lot from like the Substack community will come up in that independent.
I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't start a version of the Daily Wire.
Yeah.
Like maybe that's what he's angling for right now.
Exactly. And I think that he's positioning Ben, he's framing Ben as if Ben doesn't care about America. And the people that he wants.
I don't think Ben Shapiro does care about America as much as he does Israel, at least. He might care about America because America is where he makes his fucking money, but... Is he not gonna move? Oh, he's trading cards. Okay.
On his side, he wants on his side, are the people that care about America in the way that he wants it to be, or that he believes they want it to be.
That's an
I'll
unserved
give him.
demographic.
I had to hide
I'll
it
give
from
him
you
best
when
case
you-
scenario,
Oh, yeah.
Which is, that's the thing that he has in common. He wants somebody that will literally put America first, cares about American issues, and is going to try to fix American issues, and not go fight these senseless wars.
Oh, fuck!
Just American news.
Something like that. So that's my assumption, and that he would maybe collect some talent around him, partner up with one of these billionaire, Peter Thiel types, get a bunch of money, create another Daily Wire, and now Daily Wire has got some competition.
Bingo.
I think that should probably be the move. But he's slow playing it. Smart. He's not just jumping into it. It's like, okay, let me build up this podcast. And he's doing a good job. People are fucking watching. He's got some interviews that are going viral. So
I mean, each one of these episodes, is doing millions of views.
Yeah.
Like this one from December 28th, 31 million views. Granted, it's probably inflated on
those
X,
Twitter
but,
numbers are, yeah.
But it's like insane engagement.
Okay, it isn't even like drama. It's like mainly just discourse. Okay, it's just stupid discourse. Okay, because it wasn't like, oh, not because you're attacking spouses to be petty. Then yeah, that wasn't what I got the first time. No, yeah, no. Egghead, I'm not beyond pettiness.
The initial Epstein file dump is just the beginning, with more high-profile names promised to be released in the coming days and weeks. But what emerged last night certainly raised a few eyebrows. Here are the most interesting revelations. Joanna Schoberg, a masseuse for Epstein who accompanied him on his trip, said Epstein told her that Bill Clinton, quote, likes them young, referring to girls.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Clinton continues to deny ever visiting Epstein Island, despite flying on his plane at least 26 times. Schoberg also revealed the bizarre circumstances of when she met Prince Andrew with a 17-year-old Virginia Giuffre. Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell put the puppet on Virginia's lap, and I sat on Andrew's lap, and they put the puppet's hand on Virginia's breast, and Andrew put his hand on my breast, and they took a photo. The puppet was a miniature version of Prince Andrew. Draw your own connotations from that one. Giuffre said
Bill did it. What? Oh. Yeah, for real.
Have sex with billionaire and then hedge fund manager Glenn Dubin, as well as billionaire businessman Tom Pritzker, executive chairman of Hyatt Hotels. Pritzker is also a prominent member of the Aspen Institute, a globalist non-profit funded by the Gates Foundation. Epstein also wrote an email offering money to disprove Stephen Hawking was involved in an underage orgy on his island. Then you have the celeb name drops.
He obviously didn't kill himself, just like Jeffrey Epstein. Shut up! I know he's your friend, but I don't care.
The magician David Copperfield was allegedly a friend of Epstein's, performing tricks at his house. Schoberg claims Copperfield was aware of at least some of the nature of Epstein's activities because he had a conversation with her about it. Michael Jackson, the king of pop, who, depending on who you believe, was either a notorious nonce or the victim of a massive frame-up. Jackson was allegedly at Epstein's Palm Beach mansion at least once, although Schoberg says she was not directed to service him. Then we have two more contemporary names that no one saw coming: Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Blanchett. Schoberg claims that when she was massaging Epstein, he would brag about being on the phone to celebrities, including DiCaprio, Blanchett, and Bruce Willis. It's important to emphasize that just because famous people knew or were pictured with Epstein or Maxwell doesn't mean they were involved in his sordid activities. Case in point, Donald Trump, who, despite the claims of screeching shitlibs, was exonerated yet again in yesterday's data dump.
Yeah, no, Bill Clinton definitely was doing some fuck shit.
In the coming days, we're likely to find out the identity of John Doe 113, a purported Epstein affiliate and witness who is alleged to have engaged in serious wrongdoing.
Fuck, I'm gonna lose this one just because of how fucky this game was. Damn it. That sucks.
Names will never see the light of day. This one was redacted from yesterday's dump. We also learned that Giuffre kept a journal 300 pages long filled with the names of men involved with Epstein and what they got up to, but that she burned it in a bonfire. Whoops. Next, we'll get into what's still being hidden about Epstein's secret operation, and it's far more damning than anything they've released over the last 24 hours. Don't know about you, but I'm going to be heading into the new year trying to cut back on sugar and get more protein into my diet. Well, how about working towards that goal with your very first meal of the day with Magic Spoon, cereal reinvented. Magic Spoon is great for a low-carb lifestyle, containing 4 to 5 net carbs per serving with 140 calories per serving. And best of all, there's no compromise on taste. Magic Spoon packs in all that flavour you remember from childhood, while remaining wholesome, high quality, and with absolutely no artificial ingredients. The variety pack comes in 4 delicious flavours: fruity, frosted, cocoa, and peanut butter. My standout favourite's gotta be cocoa. Turns the milk all chocolatey. Magic Spoon is a high-protein meal or treat that you can enjoy at any time of the day, and it fits a variety of lifestyles. It's high-protein, keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, that's crucial, wheat-free, and naturally flavoured. Click the link down below to grab a variety pack and try it today. And be sure to use the promo code PJW at checkout to get $5 off any order, or go to magicspoon.com/PJW. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions.
I don't even think that red is good. I just think that they got lucky because of blue and that this guy bought it out.
QR code on the screen and use the code PJW for your $5 off. Or go to magicspoon.com/PJW to save $5 off your order today. When the FBI raided Epstein's New York mansion in 2019, they found copious amounts of CDs and hard drives containing nude images of women and girls. They photographed the items but then said they didn't have a warrant to remove them. And when they returned on July 11th, 4 days later, they were no longer there. Epstein's lawyer then supposedly returned the items to the residence, but FBI agents could not be certain that the data contained on the CDs and hard drives was the same as the ones that were taken. Did Epstein's people scrub some of the data, and why did the FBI not secure the evidence in the first place? These are the real Epstein files. This is where you'll find all the names, and those files will likely never see the light of day. We're distracted with irrelevant info about Epstein's calls with Hollywood actors, while this bombshell intel appears to have mysteriously vanished. Referring to this still secret evidence, Mike Cernovich says that the new data dump is simply a mop-up operation. Notably absent from the new data dump is any information as to why Epstein was keeping all this blackmail material and who he was working for. But Epstein's connection to intelligence agencies really is the elephant in the living room. Why did Epstein blanket his numerous mansions with surveillance cameras covering every corner of every room? Why did he have a secret control room in the belly of his New York house where he could personally monitor every camera? When federal agents busted open Epstein's safe and found both photographic and digital evidence of the abuse of minors,
'Cause he was working for the
those
Mossad.
files copiously labeled with the names of both the victims and the abusers. Obviously, Epstein was collecting blackmail material. He was engaging in compromise, but on behalf of who? According to former Israeli
Mossad.
spy Ari Ben-Menashe, Epstein ran a complex intelligence operation at the behest of Mossad. It's widely reported that Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, was a double or even triple agent working for both British intel and Israeli intelligence. Ben-Menashe claimed that once Robert Maxwell knew that Epstein had designs on his daughter, he asked Mossad for the green light to induct Epstein into his
I wonder what
According to Ben-Menashe, both
Brad
Ghislaine
was.
Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein were
Let's see.
agents of the Israeli intelligence services. We know that former Israeli Prime Minister
That was a
Ehud
beginner.
Barak met with Epstein dozens
I knew
of
that they
times.
were-
But according to Ben-Menashe, when it became clear that Epstein was
Just the way they were
useless
playing,
at
they kinda
everything else, his
sucked,
primary
but
role became
they got
blackmailing
lucky.
American and other political figures. This is probably the most important facet of the whole Epstein saga.
Actually,
but
I gotta go
mainstream
take a
news coverage
piss.
routinely ignores it entirely.
After the, I want to win a game. I want to win this next game. If I don't, then I'll play another one. But after that, I'm gonna do research on the baby hoax of the Gulf War. But I'm gonna go take a piss real quick. There we go. I'm back.
Wonder why? America's greatest ally blackmailing top American politicians? Surely not.
Hmm.
Why did the US government negotiate a non-prosecution agreement with Epstein and his co-conspirators in Florida? Questions also continue to swirl over the weirder proclivities of what Epstein and his elite cohorts were really up to. We know that Epstein was obsessed with trying to groom the tech elite. His infamous dinners with Bill Gates.
What did you know about him when you were meeting with him?
You know, I had dinners with him.
Look at how nervous he was, bro.
Inviting him to
He was so nervous in that interview. What the fuck?
But Musk immediately got the heebie-jeebies and decided to steer well clear. But like basically all elitists, Epstein was transfixed with transhumanism and life extension technologies. Turns out Epstein wanted to freeze his own head. And yes, also his penis. Epstein's
What?
sprawling
His
ranch
penis?
in New Mexico, which was pedantically maintained by staff, yet rarely used or visited by Epstein himself, appeared to have one main bizarre function: to serve as a baby-making facility where Epstein would attempt to help foster his dream of, quote, seeding the human race with his DNA by impregnating women. According to the New York Times, Mr. Epstein told scientists and businessmen about his ambitions to use his New Mexico ranch as a base where women would be inseminated with his sperm and would give birth to his babies. Epstein's goal was to have 20 women impregnated at a time at the 33,000 square foot ranch. This is why, since the early 2000s, Epstein became obsessed with ingratiating himself with the technological and scientific elite. But how does the pursuit of life extension and this bizarre baby harvesting program connect with Epstein's sordid sex parties and his trafficking of minors? And bear with me here, because this is where it gets well freaky. Several ancient, powerful cults believed that engaging in occult tantric sex magic rituals could extend their lives by decades. One of these cults, the cult of Iana, is reportedly still active in the United States and Europe today. This is all explained in a rare book called Cult and Occult. The book explains
Never
how
heard of it.
rulers down the centuries believed that sexual contact with minors would re-energize their bodies and extend their lives. This book is actually part of the Stanley Kubrick archives, because Kubrick used it as a primary research source for his movie Eyes Wide Shut, which of course centered around a shadowy elitist cabal based out of New York City that routinely engaged in, well, let's say Epstein-like shenanigans.
I haven't actually seen this movie, but I've seen a lot of it.
Kubrick was trying to warn us about.
Who do you think those people were? Those were not just ordinary people there. If I told you their names, I'm not going to tell you their names, but if I did, I don't think you'd sleep so well.
So as is depicted in the film, the sex magic rituals performed by Epstein and his co-conspirators weren't just about fulfilling their perverted sexual fantasies. They were also part of the occult belief that absorbing psychosexual energy from victims would actually make them live longer. Bizarre beyond belief. I know how crazy it sounds. But the life extension angle with Epstein isn't some QAnon BS. It was literally reported by the New York Times. No one's talking about any of that though. No one's talking about the missing blackmail material from Epstein's mansion. Everyone's still being distracted by complete nothing burgers like Prince Andrew and Stephen Hawking. If you value what I do and you want to help support me, please visit Paul Joseph Watson.
Although the Stephen Hawking thing is kind of funny. Like, what the fuck?
What I ordered versus what I got.
Ugh.
I ordered Huel hot and savory as a healthy.
You thought Mel Time was over. You thought it was done. But no! As it turns out,
Mel
hours
Time.
and hours and hours of Mel Time, boys and girls. The content machine keeps churning the vacuum that is the Mel and Destiny divorce drama. The divorce drama, dude. Yeah, the divorce is drama now, apparently. It keeps churning. The vacuum that is this situation is ready to suck in literally everything. There is no escape. Nobody will escape. And, I don't want to, frankly. I love it.
What the fuck?
I am under the water. Please help me.
Relationships, love. It's what every song on the radio is all about. It's what men and women spend years of their life sinking time, money, and resources into, sometimes to get a lot out of it, and sometimes for nothing. Well, not nothing, but I mean, sometimes you end up losing more than you gain from that relationship. And it definitely seems to be sucking lately for Destiny and Melina. The internet's power couple, a streamer and a model coming together to fight the red pill and show their love to the world, it's fallen apart.
Melina, why did you say yes to Destiny when he asked, would you marry him?
Because I love him.
And what do you love about him?
Everything.
Did you know he's a liberal?
Yeah, but that's amazing.
Oh,
yeah. I think it's amazing.
Really? So would you classify him
Beta!
as a male or an alpha male?
He's a Sigma male.
A Sigma
He's
male?
a beta.
Sigma male, Jesse. You don't know what Sigma males are?
No.
Oh, you're behind on the times.
I am. What is it?
Sigma males are men that go their own way, Jesse. They don't play the alpha beta games, okay? They live their own lives.
Oh, that's amazing.
I did like 12 years of ballroom dancing when I was younger. So I was competing in that sport. So if I meet someone that does some sort of dancing that is with a partner, I can like dance with them really well, and that's like what's the fun out of it, right?
I think she's saying like in a traditional sense of things, it looks bad on him, but you guys don't have a traditional.
Other people though, well.
I know. I'm just saying. No, that's what I'm saying.
Why
You
would it
guys,
look bad?
you guys don't have a like from a traditional standpoint.
She's like, what the-
Traditional standpoint, it looks bad. But you
Mary
guys are
from
I think that's what she's saying. It looks.
the one
Hold on, wait.
Culture
Even in
Crisis or
tradition,
something like that.
Like you can go to weddings. Like sometimes other people dance with other people.
Yeah.
You know.
Have you guys ever danced?
Like it's not like they're like
I know
grinding.
you're not like at a ballroom.
I'm not.
dancing event
I'm not
with
okay with.
like
If I marry my wife, I'm not okay with her dancing with.
Now, obviously, throughout this entire
Yeah.
relationship, a lot of people were preying on its downfall. They had an open marriage, meaning they would sleep with other people, and that caused a lot of people to call Destiny a cuck. There were also a lot of memes that were like, the only way a guy like that could get with a girl like her is if she's sleeping with other guys. And of course, then there's the ABBA meme where he dances with Melina, and obviously this was one of the most popular memes of last year from like the YouTube sphere.
Because I would probably figure out like the basic steps, and I would figure out like how to do
Did he post this in 24?
Uh-oh. Mel time.
5 days ago? Yeah, he did.
Mel time. It's Mel time.
Okay. So would you go salsa or would you want?
I love it. And a few weeks ago, we found out from Destiny himself that he and Melina were getting divorced. At the time, we didn't have a lot of details about this, and initially it looked like everyone was going to be quiet. Destiny wouldn't talk about it. Melina wouldn't talk about it. They would just go their separate ways in private and do their own thing. Amicable splits. But due to a series of events, that ceasefire basically ended,
Ooh,
and as a result,
Ratchet
we
and
now have
Clank,
hours
bro.
of Destiny talking about Melina on stream, as well as a good amount of content from
That was an
Melina's
old
new
Ratchet and
boyfriend
Clank,
called Memetics. Everyone is saying it like meme
like from
tick.
PlayStation 2. That's sick. All right, I'm gonna shoot some fucking alliance requests. There we go.
Like he's a blood-sucking insect. I guess metaphorically you could say that, but I thought it was pronounced Memetics. But maybe that's just my Kekistani blood shining through. I could be completely wrong, but we're gonna call him Memetics for the entire video. Now it all started with this stream where Steven said he would not
Oh,
go into
man.
detail on the breakup because it was all private, and he had no intention of leaking it to the world. And this was a pretty mature take on it all, I think. It's probably best to not reveal too many private relationship details during a breakup when you're a public figure because things can just get messy, and it's just not worth it.
I don't think it's my place. I shouldn't be like taking private relationship stuff and like airing that publicly. There's literally no reason to do this. I should have never done this when I was typing in chat. There's no reason for me to do like a public accounting for of like a private relationship between me and Mel. As much as I think she's made some deplorable decisions over the past few months, I just don't think it's very fair for me to like, I'm gonna do the Mel Manifesto and just completely run her and dump everything on blah blah blah, which is absolutely cucked, and I understand that, and I understand that.
Well, you already were
I'll
cucked,
tell
so.
you, and listen, if you want to blame anybody, blame my therapist, because yesterday I was very close to doing a huge. Like,
Ooh,
we're gonna talk about a
yellow.
lot of shit. Then I had like I had a really long chat with my therapist, or our therapist, I guess, to try to like sort out my feelings, what I want in the future going forward, like what I think is like the best thing to do. And I basically completely 180 after that conversation.
So apparently he did talk about it in his chat a bit, but not too much detail, and he stopped himself pretty quickly before he said too much, and he admitted fault here, which is good. We wouldn't get any public details, though, for another full week until Destiny decided to do another stream where he talked about it for a good hour and a half, and during that stream he reveals that Melina demanded that he give her $100,000. He also revealed that she had been talking a lot about him behind the scenes to a ton of people, both during and after the divorce, and that negatively affected his relationship with a lot of people behind the scenes. Many friendships cut off as a result. Now, I was under the impression that because there was no prenup signed, that he would have to give her half of his money. But he clarified publicly that he signed a post-nuptial agreement with her, and because the marriage was relatively short, he wouldn't actually owe her any money. This is just what he said, but I can't imagine he would lie about something like that, considering we would eventually find out if he was lying, and it would be a big, public drama thing. And in general, Destiny doesn't seem to be someone who doesn't tell the truth, no matter what you think about him. He's not a liar. The first thing from this stream is that according to Destiny, Melina reached out to 5 people behind the scenes, saying that Destiny has...
Yeah, I don't think he's a liar. I think he's wrong, though.
A, lied about the relationship, and B, that he's abusive. Now, I assume this doesn't imply physical abuse and is more along the lines of emotional manipulation, but she told this to a bunch of people.
My ex-wife has reached out to a ton of people. At least, I'll say at least 5 mutual friends have alerted me. I have no idea how many other are affected. Basically saying that I've lied about a ton of stuff and that I am abusive. Where I guess abusive means I've lied before or cheated. That's like what abusive means now, I guess. Which is chill. I'm cool with that. Sometimes we roll
Cheated? I thought that
abusive
they
lifestyle.
were in an open relationship. How the fuck can you cheat in an open relationship?
Yeah. That's so it's a little bit annoying that every single person that Melina talks to, and then every single person Tim talks to, and then every single person that these 2 people talk to are basically being told that I'm like an abuser and a liar and just like all sorts of other like insanely unhinged is a little bit, I'd say a little bit annoying. That's one thing that's irritating. And the second thing that's irritating is I don't like being called a liar, okay? Maybe I shouldn't have leaked anything the first time when I got upset. I probably shouldn't have, because I should have waited longer and typed out something more formal. I probably shouldn't have. But yeah, I would...
I don't feel good right now. I feel weird.
I don't know why... Yeah, I don't know why you would call me a liar.
Let's see what my traits
Does she
are.
actually weaponize therapy? Melina weaponizes everything. I remember we got into a fight in Vegas because Tim was spamming her phone saying, if you want to raise kids, you can't do it in a poly relationship or with an American. just random shit. And I'm just like, why are you arguing with this person about this? This is brutal. And then we got into a huge fight over this. And I remember one of the things she says to me in the fight, she's like, are you even on your meds today? Maybe that's why your mood is so... Like, damn. Melina, you're going in. I don't think she meant it. I think she was trying to find shit like me, but it was a good insult. I'll give it an 8.5. Jesus. Who do the mutual friends believe? So one of the issues, let me say this right now, okay? I need to organize thoughts, figure out what I want to say, what I don't want to say. Because I don't want to just like leak all the details of my relationship. If for no other reason, because it's just dumb. And it makes everybody look bad, and it's just stupid. Like, I don't need to go over all of it. But just like a little update, I guess, on where my brain is at. Somebody asked, who do the mutual friends believe? I think prior to a few weeks ago, I think most of the mutual friends kind of believe Melina.
While Melina technically did not make these details public or allegations public, whatever they may be, telling 5 people, in my opinion, is kind of making it public because people talk, people say things to one another, and depending on who these people are, they could have each told up to 5 people themselves. And who knows how those 25 from the initial 5 told. So it sort of starts this giant rumor mill where people are talking about these details that are supposed to be private, but they end up being public or semi-public through the grapevine. Now, you can blame Destiny a little for this, considering he did talk about this a little bit in his chat. He did talk about his feelings on the divorce and whatever, but he was more vague than Melina was being, I assume, in these DMs. So you can place some fault on him for that. I think he'd admit that, but not too much. Another issue you have here is that things get lost in translation and just spread around like crazy, to the point where eventually everyone knows some form of these stories from their breakup, but it also deviates greatly from the truth. So at that point, to clear things up, you either have to talk to everyone in the story, reach out individually to clear the air with them, or just make a public addressing of it to clear the air so people know what actually happened. Now, if I may comment, I think this whole emotional abuse thing is not really something I buy into. The A word gets tossed around a lot these days, and I think most people kind of misuse it. I think, you know, the abuse thing most of the time could just be described as being mean or being shitty to someone, but I think for most people who use the word, you know, the A word, or they use the term gaslighting or any of these psychological buzzwords to describe relationships, they probably don't know the meaning of these words, and they're also just misusing them. And once again, when this reaches a ton of people or becomes public for a public figure, it just causes a giant web of rumors, mistruths, and lies. And so Destiny decided that he wanted to address that a bit on stream.
Why wouldn't you have done that?
His shoulders.
When Melina goes and talks to mutual friends about things, and then I talk, Melina always sounds like the good guy, because like I'm trying my best to do both sides, and she's just dumping on me. Yeah, so it's just like, it's very f***ing annoying. Now that I've had like way more time, I say way more time, it's like 2 weeks or 10 days, 12 days. Now that I've had like more time out of things, and then I'm looking back on things, and then when I review things with friends, I can see that this like pattern has been so strong and so unbelievably like transparent in the different approaches to things that it's just like the most wacky shit in the world. Sorry, so today my shit was delayed. Like I said, has she done this with you about other people? Yes, Melina does this to everybody. One of the things that I complained to the therapist about, I also make these complaints to Melina, but Melina never acknowledges any fault or wrongdoing with anything, which is frustrating. But one example of this was like Darius, for instance. Melina was 100% unequivocally wrong and exaggerated / lied about everything having to do with the Darius situation. But because it ended up in a place where she didn't like, she emotionally rewrote the entire history of their interactions to make it seem like Darius was like a clingy, abusive loser the entire time. I won't go into too many details of that because, like I said, I don't want to like, I have to figure out like which stories are relevant, like, because I don't want to do this whole like, oh, I'm spilling everything. I just want to have like this, I just want to fight two really widespread impressions that really bother the out of me. One is that like I'm this horrible, abusive, one-sided, terrible person that Melina like escaped. Okay, number one. And number two is I don't know how many people now have heard insane things about me behind the scenes now, because holy when I talk to some people and I'm like, have you heard this story? And they're like, yeah, isn't this when you did that, and that? And I'm like, is that all you heard about this? That drives me crazy. And then three, I don't like the fact now that Mel and Tim are on their streams, like basically saying I'm lying about things, which is also driving me crazy. It's like, I'm not lying about it. Why would I lie about anything related to our lives that is so easily verifiable? I would be so stupid to tell lies about these topics that you've told everybody about because everybody knows them.
The impression Destiny gives off of Melina here is that she has a big victim complex where everything she does is nice and virtuous and any action against her is totally undeserved. Don't know how true that is, so take it with a grain of salt, but if you believe Destiny, then obviously you're going to think she's a difficult person to be around or be in a relationship with. At some point after a bit
I bet she
talking,
is.
apparently Melina reached out to Destiny to have a phone call, and on that call she demanded that he give her $100,000.
Yeah, so basically Melina reaches out to me, we have a call, and she basically tells me that I owe her for money for her apartment, and that I, like, if I want to do what's moral, because I made her leave the United States and pay to fly all of her shit back, that I should pay her like $100,000. And I'm like, you're out of your mind. And the way that this conversation starts is, and this is the funniest thing. Initially, she'd like sent this message through a mutual, and then I responded back, and I was like, oh no, like maybe, maybe Tim can get a job, and you guys can, work for this money, good luck. I was very passive aggressive. I admit that. I sent a really nasty message when she asked me for that. Just to be clear, it was like, hey, remember you told me you don't care about the money, you don't care about my help, you don't care about me doing taxes, you don't care about any of that shit. All you want is somebody to cuddle with you for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Well, there you go. Now you got it. Good luck. Figure it out. I'm sure you guys will. Power of love will, help you with your paperwork. 100%. Okay, because that's the only thing that matters. Remember, it's the only thing that matters in life. I was super passive aggressive in that message, but then when the call starts, Melina's like, this call starts. She's like, I just want to know where you're at, and I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, I want to know where you're at because of that message you sent 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, well, I'm at the message that I sent 1 hour ago. And yeah, we argue for a bit about this, and then it's just like a 40-minute call and now that I've like grown into like Neo when it comes to our relationship, now I can see like every single lie and every single like pivot and every single attempt, like every single thing. I'm like, well, do you have a log for that? Or can you prove that? Or can you show that this happened? Because I have a whole bunch of stuff that says the exact opposite. And it was just like lie after lie after lie for things that I've let her lie about in our entire relationship that drive me insane. And it felt good. It felt good to pick the bullets out of the air. Again, I'm not gonna like dive into like everything, but I'll say, for instance, one thing, because this was kind of public already. Something that I've said about Melina.
This
is
guy's
that,
a fucking idiot.
Melina emotionally rewrites everything. So, for instance, now when she talks to people about me, I've always been an abuser. I've always been a horrible person. Blah 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 blah. She emotionally rewrites the history with everybody based on her current state, or she'll rewrite the facts based on her current emotional state. So one of the things Melina starts telling me is like, you owe me this because I abandoned all of my stuff in Sweden for you, and it's not fair that like I moved to the US and gave up so much and I abandoned so much in Sweden for you. And I'm like, no, you didn't. You abandoned New Zealand for me. And she's like, no, I abandoned Sweden. I couldn't go back after I blah 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 blah. And I'm like, no, you hated Sweden and you abandoned New Zealand. And I know this. And then I start pulling logs from the first year of our relationship, because the first year or two of our relationship, all of the fighting was over her not wanting to leave New Zealand and hating Sweden and then having to come to the United States. And there are so many logs of that. There were even logs when she went back to Sweden. She's like, I hate it here. I hate Sweden. It's such a horrible place. And then when we would fight, she'd be like, I can't believe you pulled me away from my dream place of New Zealand. And she's like, well, that's not true. I married you so that we could be together in the United States. And I was like, Melina, you were engaged to a guy in New Zealand 2 weeks after you went down there.
Huh?
Okay?
What a
Nobody
whore!
thinks that, like I cucked her out of Max or whatever. Melina was engaged to another guy, and then she also was dating Max. There's a whole other guy that was involved there. I don't know if he ever gets brought up, by the way, but whatever, run with your assumptions. But yeah, I was like, Melina, you got engaged with this guy immediately so that you could live in New Zealand forever. And that's what we always thought about. And she was trying to say that you pulled me away from Sweden. Like, bro, you never liked Sweden. You're like, this is a new thing that you've decided because now you've got like a new group of friends in Sweden, and now you're gonna say that like you've loved Sweden the whole time, and I like blah 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 blah. But that's like, yeah, that was just like one example. It was like 45 minutes of her trying to lie. I would say probably gaslight. I think it's accurate here. She's trying to make me misremember events so that she can manipulate it for her purpose, so that she can like win an argument. But I'm just like, at every point, I'm like, well, do you have a log for this? Well, can you show me this? Do you have any proof for this? Because I've got a bunch of stuff that says the opposite. And then we've got a third party in the call, and she's like, well, what do you think about this? Like, shut up, Steven. Don't shut the fuck up. And obviously the other third party is like, well, I don't know. Like, Melina, do you have like a log or anything else or whatever? And then Melina's like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. Clearly he's made up his mind. And I'm like, okay. She says that like 50 times. Like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. This is clearly over. And I'm like, okay. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Unreal. Unbelievable shit.
And I believe throughout the relationship, Steven was helping her out with money a lot anyway, so for this to be a demand that he give her $100,000 over false pretenses is completely insane. I thought she was wealthy herself, to be honest, given streaming, and I think she does Fansly as well, where she sells raunchy photos of herself, so I'm super perplexed why she's asking him for money. I thought her situation was fine, but things add up when you remember that she had some accounting errors with her taxes where she didn't pay them properly. She had to go to court for it, I believe, and ended up owing a little bit of money, and Destiny was helping her get that all sorted out prior to the divorce, but obviously now he's not helping helping her out with that, and as a result, she's just kind of left without an easy lifeline to get her out of tricky situations. Now, for some reason, I thought Melina was like 20 years old, but I think my mental note of how old she is was just built around when she met Destiny. She's actually 25 years old, and so she definitely is old enough where she needs to be able to handle her own finances and make her own money and pay for her own apartment and expenses and everything. She shouldn't be going to the guy she just got a divorce with and demanding $100,000. I also thought the dude she was with now, Memetics, had some money and would be helping, you know, pay her for whatever she needed. I believe he's living with her, so he probably should be paying some portion of the rent.
What if I split this cucumber in half with my mind?
But I guess TikTok doesn't pay or something, which is why she's now in the position where she's demanding money from people who don't owe it to her. And Destiny showed in this stream that he absolutely hates this dude through a number of snide little comments about how she's a child, has no money, is a loser, and basically just saying, you know, that she sucks 10 different ways.
How's that guy broke as a famous TikToker? Don't they at least get high-paying sponsors and brand deals? Maybe. But the problem is he was famous like a year or two ago, and 10-year-olds don't have the most disposable income, so...
Now, this would seem to be the end of the public stuff for now, until Memetics, Memetix, Tim, logged on to talk about Destiny a lot. I have a literal recording of Destiny saying he hopes I off myself. Whoa, big revelation. Not sure why he's saying this, like he has some big exposed material on Destiny, considering that Destiny tells people to do that literally every other week on YouTube. This isn't something he hides, he's been saying it for years. From people like Bunty King to Aiden Ross, he's telling everyone that. Now, Darius, another streamer who I believe is dating or was dating Xena the Witch, who's Sneako's ex-girlfriend, also said that Melina has gone around showing people pictures of Will Neff in the nude.
Melina spoke out to me that I could leak about Melina, and I guess I will because I think I'm validated now to do it. And Steven's probably like, oh, it's your story to tell, right? So Steven would probably be okay if I do it. So for the first thing, like I said, Will Neff's penis was out of line. After that, I was like, why are you showing that? She said, do you guys want to see Will Neff's dick? They're probably fucking low-key, just gonna leak it, I don't care. But she was like, randomly, we're just sitting there eating pasta, and she's like, I was talking to Will Neff. He actually has a big dick. And then she shows both me and Sushi his dick for no reason. I'm like, no, nigga, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to see that. Why did you say yeah? I said no, but Sushi, of course, said yes because she's a so I'm going to be a victim of it. This isn't a good leak retweet. Well, my point is that she literally just, it's like she'll just like, she just in private, she just spills tea.
I didn't even know who this guy was, but I guess he's a streamer, an actor. I think he's associated with Offline TV as well and all those guys over on Twitch. But I guess Melina went around showing people pictures of his penis. Swag to the max. Super, super classy. So awesome. I guess private relationship details aren't the only thing she goes around showing people out of turn. After all this came out, Steven ended up doing a stream where he responded to Memetics, I'm forgetting my own pronunciation now, because he decided to run his mouth publicly about Melina and the divorce and everything that had happened. This all started because Memetix did an interview with a small YouTuber where he gave a bunch of details about himself and Melina, said Destiny called him the F-slur, oh the horror, among a bunch of other claims.
Yeah, but why cancel me for Rizicide when you literally wish the same upon someone else? I have literal recordings of Destiny saying he hopes I off myself. Bro is DMing his therapist as we speak. Time is money, chat, and I'm spending time with Melina.
Destiny then elaborates on how Melina had been inappropriately spreading his private details behind the scenes to her friends, even while they were still together, which is pretty two-faced and all around just shitty. I will never understand why some people just can't keep their mouth shut and have to do this childish stuff where they spread gossip like a little girl. If there are serious allegations involved, then that's one thing, obviously. You probably should tell someone that, but it seemed like she was just talking out of turn and volunteering information that never needed to be told to
bro,
anyone.
why do I keep getting these people who fuck me over?
Someone to talk to about this stuff and misrepresent what happened to validate her own feelings on it all.
Beginners. It's always these fucking beginners that just fuck me over.
More than Melina. You know, there could be some more validity to Melina's side, and we'll have to see if that comes out. But for now, I'm definitely swaying on Team Destiny in terms of commitment to the truth.
Mel went back to Sweden. We'd been fighting over it like dumb. There were another group of, I thought it was only 2, but even as of today, I'm getting more DMs from friends. I had just had to burn basically 2 more friendships at the time because Mel had engaged in what I would consider to be incredibly inappropriate talk, where she decided to dump 5 years worth of problems onto mutual friends that we had, that I had like explicitly gone out of my way to share with Mel so that she wouldn't think anything weird was going on, and she decided to vent to completely all these people. So she goes back to Sweden. I'm coming off all that. I'm a little bit irritated. Whatever. As she's in Sweden, I think I'm streaming. She's doing her thing over there. Everything moves sideways for a couple months. As I'm here in the United States, Melina ends up meeting a new group of friends in Sweden that seem like pretty cool. She hangs out with them. Everything is cool. Sometimes
I
Melina
guess
does
I
this
take
annoying thing where
Africa.
She's like, oh, I met these group of people. They're so cool. Like, you know, it's cool because, you know, they're all gay and platonic and they're dating other people. So they're
Fucking
relationships and all that,
faggots.
blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, cool. That never lasts, but, you know, yeah, whatever, if you enjoy it. I think this was about 4 months ago. I think it was in early August. One of the friends that she'd made among some of the other friends was the Tim dude.
And it's also around this time she meets Tim or Memetics. Now, a lot of people are posting like, how could she like this dude? Look at him. He's 120 pounds and looks like a girl.
He looks
He's
like a
Chris
fucking
Mr.
faggot.
Beast. And I hate to break it to you guys, but I'm gonna red pill you guys, black pill, or maybe even white pill you guys on something. Depends on what perspective you're coming from. This shouldn't be that surprising, but for a lot of girls, this is what they want. They like guys that look like this, and they find them attractive. Not every girl, but they do exist. I can testify from firsthand experience because that was. Basically, I mean, me like 3 years ago. I wasn't wearing dresses.
Whoa, he
I was,
looked like
140
Leafy,
pounds.
bro. What the fuck? Except for he got his nails painted. Leafy wouldn't do anything like that. But what the fuck? He looks like Leafy. Maybe it's because he's got the mask on and he's like hiding his chin and doing this thing, you know?
5'11", so I was
But-
pretty skinny. I was painting my nails and dressing like a little emo boy, and I was getting a considerable amount of female attention for like the first time in my life, around the time when I was 17 to like 19-ish years old, which is when I was at the peak of like this behavior. I was getting a lot of crazy emails from crazy girls, and this in contrast to the Columbine swag I had the year before when I was wearing a lot of Sam Hyde shirts and other edgy stuff like that. I wasn't getting as much female
Sam
attention
Hyde
then at
based.
all, but I painted my nails, I dressed a little differently, and all of a sudden there's like, you know, there's all these girls or whatever coming out of the woodworks, and I'm not saying I'm like super desired and sought after or whatever. I don't think I'm that attractive, but there's like a look that women associate with certain things, and they wanted that. I think women perceive you as like deep and emotionally in touch, which was not the case for me at the time. In fact, I was way more of an asshole than I am now, but the My Chemical Romance swag is definitely something that attracts a certain kind of girl, and I guess that's something Melina wanted, as opposed to Destiny, who just sort of dresses and looks like an average guy. You wouldn't assume he listens to a lot of post-hardcore and hyperpop, okay? Destiny, you need to listen to way more Young Lean, okay? That's the problem. Now, I would not recommend being like this Meme Ticks, Memetics guy, because I think it's G-A-Y. Not homosexual, really, just kind of unswag. Major unswag. I think everyone should do what I'm doing now and go to the gym and try to get giant and massive. Not for female attention, but because it will make your life genuinely better and your mental state and everything will improve far more. Productivity improves way more than when you're centering your life and your appearance on like music taste and like it's just bad. It's bad. But there is a
Bro, I
kind of
need you
girl
to
who
get
likes
your
these small,
fucking
twinkish cryptids that look like they spend all day huffing window cleaner, and I guess that's
shit
what Melina
out of my
wants right now, and that's what she wants, and she definitely ended up getting it. But at the time they started talking, Melina ends up getting in a relationship with Memetics at the same time that she was married to Destiny.
And eventually, you know, surprise, surprise, Tim ends up cheating on the girl that he's with, Smell, and then a couple days later, they're like officially dating. And she's like, oh my god, you'll never believe this, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I can't believe it. Who would have saw that coming? Also, as a quick heads up, because Tim might be getting super mindful right now, because I can tell by the way that he types in chat. Melina is, I don't know what changed, but in the past 6 months, at least, Melina starts to lie a lot. So I think one of the reasons why Tim has been so confident in attacking me is because he has no idea how much I know about him, because Melina probably tells him, oh no, I don't talk to Steven about you really at all. That's my guess. I could be wrong, but I can't see how he could have so much confidence coming at me with so many things, considering how many stupid things I know about this guy, which is funny and tragic at the same time, I guess. But whatever.
But Tim, or Memetics, gets very clingy and very attached to Melina, which is a tough position to be in because she's polyamorous and is married to another dude who she is like very with and sees all the time and travels with like, you know, all year. And so it's kind of a tough spot to be in.
Initially, like, I'm kind of like, well, okay, it seems kind of weird that when we've talked, you talk about how like cheating is like the most like horrible thing and blah blah blah, but like this guy did this to his girlfriend and now you guys hang out, whatever, you know, hey, knock yourself out, have fun. I'd say like in the first month of their kind of like hanging out, she tells me like a couple weird things, and we kind of like joke because Melina and Tim are kind of like me and Melina, and that the Tim guy is like ultra clingy And Melina is more kind of the one who like wants a little bit more space. And I even joke about this with her in DMs. It's like, oh, look, you found your Melina, basically. So like, for example, Melina might be out at a party, or she might be hanging out with friends, and they're all kind of like drinking and having fun. And at one point, Tim wants to go home, and Melina's like, well, I think I'd rather stay and like hang out with people. And then Tim starts like spamming her DMs like, no, you need to come home. This isn't fair. You're making me feel horrible. I need you to come home. Blah, 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 right? He's like, that can't happen. She gets it. Okay. Which I think is like funny, like reading it from her, and I'm like, oh, Jesus, yeah. So that pushes sideways for about a month, just like that kind of shit, which I thought was funny. I'm skipping a lot of different things that I know, okay? Oh wait, Melina was streaming it all and Tim was crying to go home. Oh, I didn't even know that was on stream. It might have been. I don't watch her stream as much, so or at all actually, because I'm streaming and she streams on my time zone.
Now, for a little bit of life advice here, if I may speak out of turn as an inexperienced 21-year-old, probably don't date married women. Even if they're polyamorous, it can lead to a lot of cross feelings. And if you end up developing deep feelings for that woman and want to make it more serious, that's going to make things super difficult because she has a prior commitment. Even if she says she wants to break up with another dude, well, that's cool. You probably get a little ego boost from that. You feel like the Chad. But think about the next guy. Think about how she was married to a rich, successful streamer in this case and left him for you. Who is she going to leave you for? It's almost inevitable if your relationship is built on a rebound in this weird shaky situation that she'll go to someone else eventually, especially if she's already like polyamorous. Like, is that not a red flag for some people? Funnily enough, according to independent unverified sources, Memetics already cheated on Melina.
We're about to take off. She's like super upset, and then I'm trying to figure out at the end of the day like what's going on or why you're upset. Like, you know, I think we know what we're doing at least, right? And she's like, I don't want to tell you, it's embarrassing. I'm like, what do you mean it's embarrassing? What's going on? Basically, I find out that over the last 8 hours, I guess like Tim was cheating on her, okay, with some random girl that he brought to her apartment, said he loved her, blah, blah, blah. And Melina's obviously like super upset about this. And I'm thinking like, okay, well, I thought this would take at least a few more months, but whatever.
And so it's like, oh well, that sucks, but what did you think was going to happen here? It started with an open marriage. Why would it progress or end any differently than weird, up emotions and basically like a star-crossed lovers type thing? A Star of David at this point with how complicated things are getting here and the amount of points on that star with people getting roped in. So many people are involved in this big mess. And while they were still together, Memetic starts messaging Melina saying she needs her to leave Destiny for them to stay together. And she's at Destiny's apartment, and obviously I think he's back in Sweden at the time, so he's kind of going crazy thinking about the fact that he like is alone in his apartment while she's over there alone with Destiny with her richer, more successful husband, probably slobbing some knob or something like that.
So the day of the her passport coming back comes. I think I'm like streaming because, of course, because I'm traveling. I'm pretty sure Hamas got the fucking, you know, claxons blaring. Destiny's out of town. We need to operate or execute, you know, October 7th, because I think it was around then. I think she got her passport back. What? Probably like October 10th or 11th, obviously. I'm hanging out at the apartment. Melina comes back from the courthouse to get her stuff. She comes into the apartment. She's super stressed. And I already know, okay? Because it's not even that I can read the future. It's that I am an empath. And I already know what's happened, okay? I absolutely know what's going on. Also, let me explain right here, okay? Because I can't believe this is the case. But Tim and Melina, I think, are clinging on to this fact that Tim didn't actually threaten to kill himself if Melina didn't leave me, okay? If you want to get like hyper-specific and hyper-pedantic, that is true. Allow me to explain. So Melina comes upstairs. She's super stressed. And eventually she sits down on the couch. And I'm like, how's it going? And I can tell that she's super frazzled. Like I said, I already know like what's happened. And she says, I have a difficult decision to make. So I'm like, yeah, okay. Obviously. So we start chatting for a bit. And Melina's like, Tim just gave me an ultimatum. And I'm like, yeah, obviously, because you got your passport back. Obviously, he said he's been cool with everything up till now, but it's because you didn't have your passport. So he can obviously say that he's cool with things, but as long as you're like locked in Sweden, it doesn't really matter what he says. He knows you're not going anywhere, right? So Melina tells me, I was outside. We were walking back to the apartment after I got my passport back. This was in Sweden again. We were walking back to my apartment after I got my passport back, and Tim gave me an ultimatum right outside my apartment on the street. And I'm like, what did he say? And she's like, Tim said that Steven is just way too toxic for you, and he can't stand to see me in so much pain. So I either have to divorce you, or I have to leave him. And I'm like, wow, well, what'd you tell him? And she's like, well, I don't know. I was super stunned because he said he's never done this before. And then Tim claimed that a few of Melina's friends had said that he'd talked to. A few of her friends had said, yeah, they definitely need to break up. They're way too toxic. It's a horrible relationship. And Melina said, well, my friends never told me that before. And then when Melina didn't have an immediate answer, Tim says, you didn't know Melina has, no. yeah, good. This is Tim's fault. Melina has issues sometimes feeling like abandonment stuff, or like people aren't like giving her enough time or attention, or that's a big like issue, pain point that she has, right? So Tim says to her, he says, this is why everybody you've ever loved has left you, Melina. And he turns around and storms down the street, okay? Very dramatically, or so it's told to me. So Melina's like freaking the f out. She comes upstairs, and she's like, yeah, obviously super frazzled. So I'm sitting here kind of chilling, and I'm like, okay, well, this is kind of awkward, whatever. We have, I think, probably about like a 30-minute conversation, and at this point, like, I'm not like delusional about the state of our relationship. We have had fights. I know what's going on. But I basically say to Melina, I'm like, okay, well, listen, here's where you're at. Obviously, we've been together for 5 years. We have all this history, blah, blah, blah. But we also fight over stuff. Like, there are issues we fight about. Personally, given the length of our relationship and the things we fight about, I feel like our relationship's not actually that bad. Like, especially when we're both happy and good, like, everything's super fun, everything's fine. We do have like a couple issues that seems like it's really hard for us to move over, but there's not like physical violence. We're not like doing crazy shit. Well, Melina was kind of doing crazy shit, I guess, in retrospect. But it's not like of all the things that can be in a relationship. Like, we've traveled the world, we both make a ton of money, we're super rich, we like, we've got like so many influencer friends, we're doing really well in our career. Like, for the most part, I think our lives are actually like, really good. I will say that like historically, one of my big issues fighting with Melina so much sometimes is at the end of like fights, I'm like, I feel like we need to chill. Like, our life, we live like dream lives. I don't understand how we're fighting about so much stupid all the time. Like, chill. But but I mean, also maybe I'm downplaying like my bad contributions to the relationship. That could be fair too. Okay, yeah, I know Brittany will jump on that one. So we have like about a 30 to 60 minute talk where I'm like, yeah, so here's the issues of our relationship. If you want to cut it here and you want to try your Sweden, like we can do that if you want. But I mean, like also with the Tim stuff, like it's pretty scary. You've only known this guy for 2 months, and you've only known this guy for 2 months, and he's already done a few things that are like really weird. So there could be a lot more. But I mean, yeah, it's up to you. So we kind of chat for a little bit. I think she kind of thought about it for a little bit. I think we called a third party to chat about it a little bit, and then after a little while, because at this point, I already kind of had a vision of like who Tim was in my head, but after this now I know everything. I completely understand. Like I understand this archetype of guy. I've joked in the past that like these are the most threatening people for me because they have infinite time to dump onto a woman and then use like weird mind tricks, emotional manipulate, whatever.
And this seems to be a big point of contention. Destiny has a job, he works a lot, is a very independent person. Melina is more independent than the average person, but she does want a partner she can spend a lot of time with and just be with a lot of the time. But Medix is not close to either of them in this way. He apparently wants to spend every waking second with Melina. And that sounds nice on paper or in movies, but for an actual relationship to succeed, I don't think you can be spending every second with one person. It drives you crazy. You don't need to have an open relationship, but there is reality to the statement that there's too much of a good thing. If every waking second is spent with one person, you're probably gonna start to get sick of them and things get unhealthy. But Medix wants every moment to be with Melina because he wants her all to himself. And if you're that kind of person, things get especially dicey because the person he wants to be with is in an open marriage. She's still married to someone else. How can you expect undivided attention from someone like that? You can't, is the answer, obviously. But Tim ends up making an ultimatum to Melina saying he needs to be with her, he needs her to break up with Destiny so they can just be together. And he says that he's feeling Sue of Sidal because of the situation. He's sort of pushing the idea that he may do something really bad if she doesn't just be with him. As time goes on, this relationship between Destiny and Melina continues to fall apart as she's torn between two people. And obviously we know who she picked in the end. After running through the story of how things fell apart, Destiny finally responds to what Tim had claimed in the interview with a drama YouTuber. Tim had claimed Destiny was lying about him publicly. He never said he would off himself. That's just not true. It's not true. And so Destiny brought out receipts of Melina confirming pretty much the entire story from Steven's perspective, where she admitted it all. She said that Tim was having a mental breakdown. He was like having, crazy thoughts, being too possessive, and she didn't really like that.
If I put out a claim and somebody says that, if I put out a claim and nobody wants to contradict it, then I'm pretty sure my claim is true. If I put out a claim and somebody wants to fight against that claim, and they say, well, that's not true, then okay, then I guess we'll, I guess go for evidence. I unfortunately don't have access to Melina and Tim's cell phones, so I can't prove that those texts were sent. However, Melina has talked to so many people about this, but unfortunately, I think she's lied to Tim about who she's talked to. So, for instance, Melina was really irritated when I was reaching out to mutual friends, and she had a conversation with some of her other friends. He's talking about Tim because Tim went dramatic a month ago and stuff. He's been a little dramatic since, but he's been improving all the time. I don't find it abusive. I think Steven has made me feel 100 times worse by his actions. So it feels so weird that he has so many opinions right now. And then Melina says, Tim had a breakdown a month ago where he gave me an ultimatum. When I didn't take the option he wanted me to, he had a breakdown where he said he was suicidal. After that, he tried to beg me to come over. I said no, but he didn't really respect it. He kept pushing, etc. After that, he chilled out. When I was at TwitchCon, he went off on me saying that poly was bad for kids. He took it back when I said that he was acting manipulative. Later that week, he invited a girl over that I really wanted to see, and it seemed like he only did it to get a reaction out of me. He apologized for it, and we all hung out, and it was fine.
This is what your dishwasher looks like after 1 year. It's a colony of billions of mold and bacteria living deep inside your dishwasher that not only make your dishes cloudy and dirty, but can cause serious health issues if left untreated. The only solution was to disassemble your washer.
Soak it in bleach and hand clean every nook and cranny, which can take hours.
I also found out that he had talked some bad stuff about me behind my back to a close friend of mine, which felt a bit controlling. After that, he had one more breakdown when I had to work instead of hanging out with him like I promised. That's like the worst things pretty much, so I understand. But things have gotten better. He says that he wants to change and get better. He apologizes and recognizes his mistakes and says he's learning and he wants to be good. And I see improvement every day, and that's what I'll go by. Then there's plenty of things that he brings to my life that makes me happy. Yeah. So, she, basically, every single thing that I just said, okay, is part of that. And, yeah. So, I have so many different conversations of Mel talking to other people or other people talking about this that Mel's communicated with, etc., etc. I don't know why anybody would try to deny any of this stuff when it's like so obvious what's happened. And yeah. I think he's mentioned something about not living there. Oh, this is one super stupid part that I left out of the story. One super stupid part that I left out of the story was I told Melina asked me when she was here in Miami after Tim had threatened himself, after he'd done all the manipulation. Melina was like, hey, you should add Tim on Discord, and then you guys can have a conversation, and then Tim will feel more comfortable about things. I'm like, are you gonna like make up with any of my friends? She's like, well, I don't know. I was like, okay, I'll add this guy and chat with him, and you know, why not? So we chat for like 2 days. Kill me. You have any idea how hard it is to entertain these stupid conversations? But yeah, like he mentions in here, like, oh, when you came here, you know, like I ran out of the apartment when you arrived, blah blah blah. For some reason, he tries to say like, oh, well, I didn't live with Mel. I don't live with Mel. That's not true. I don't know why he's saying that. He clearly does. He has a key and he lives there every single day, and he's there when she's not in town.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know. And then he also mentions
I
something about
fucking
making up
do
like
not
the money
feel
thing.
good.
But again, I think the problem is I don't think he knows
I'm
how much Melina
tired.
told me because Melina probably lies to him. One of the conversations we had, I think, was on November 1st. Melina says, "Do you want me to tell you about Tim, or would you rather me not?" LOL. I said, "Yeah, go for it." And she said, he had a bit of a cry today over financial stuff, and he got very aggressive against me verbally. I kind of just ignored it. What financial stuff? And let him have a breakdown. Like, I said I pay for a lot pretty much, and he should probably do his share, especially if he's here a lot. And it was just an interesting reaction. But yeah, I just got very cold. I wonder how much money he actually makes or has saved up. Yeah, he says he isn't making much now because he hasn't worked, and I told him that he needs to, especially if he's going to demand things from me and all. He called me greedy and spoiled, LOL, for making more than he does. And I'm like, I don't want this dynamic. It's not okay for me. And he had his breakdown. I said I'm going outside to eat. He can come talk to me when he stopped crying. He came down later and apologized and said I was right, LOL. Jeez. Oh yeah, and it's interesting too. He seems to have zero interest in the other friend that I said that he was minding here with, but he also doesn't want me to see her alone. And like, Blank and I want to hang out so much. We're like texting every day. Good night and good mornings. And it's a bit weird because she probably feels like he doesn't like her. I'm not sure. Up here, I responded and said, yeah, this is exactly what I said yesterday, LOL. He's never going to let you go alone. He might be scared of you hanging out with other people alone, and he probably doesn't really like it when you guys hang out with others in a group. He wants to mainly do one-on-one. Yeah, maybe, but oh my god. Yeah, maybe, oh my god, I really, really want to see her. I've been like crushing all day, so I'm just frustrated. Just go and see her. Why let Tim stop you? Hopefully I get to see her this weekend. I was close to today. My throat started hurting and stuff. I'll text her tomorrow. I really like this girl. She told me she wrote about me in her grateful journal. What's that? Well, things she said thankful for, blah, 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 and then our conversation ends. But yeah, so like, yeah. Every single claim that I have made, I can back up with like 50 million different. What if she's lying to you and it's just a habitual lie? Every single thing that she's talked to me about, she's talked to a ton of other people about because she overshares like a motherfucker. She had the same conversation with another guy. He got upset when I said that he has to pay. He got upset when I said that I pay for most things / everything, and if he wants to be in my apartment and take space for his stuff, he needs to pay his share. And he called me greedy and privileged. He seems to be more trouble than he's worth. I don't know. I'm just letting him cool off. He got extremely emotional for some reason. You're staying in someone's apartment, you can pay your way. By the way, he does live there. Yeah. Oh, and this is on these stupid dates. 1/11. What is that? November or whatever the 11th month is on the 1st, right? Yeah, and I didn't even really tell him to pay rent. I just had to pay more for groceries. Oh, is this just from when you were together in Sweden, or is he living there now? I'm in Sweden now, back for a month, so this just happened. Oh, okay. But, okay. Yeah. I think I've like said most of what I need to say. There are other like abusive and manipulative things that this guy has done. There are other stories I could tell, but again, like I feel like I've already like mined quite a bit. I've already mined like quite a bit on this. There's like been so much shit, but yeah. I don't know if there's anything else I need to. Yeah.
So I would highly recommend if you're going to misrepresent things or lie about them publicly that you just don't do that. Or at the very least, make sure there are no logs showing that what you said did not happen, or that what you didn't say happened did happen. And as for Melina, look, and I know you're a big fan of the channel over there. You know, you were always my day one. You were my DM saying I got so much swag. I know. Believe me, I know. But just stop running your mouth. Stop talking about this stuff. Just shut up and move on with your life if that's what you want to do. I have a feeling that's not going to happen though, given the recent behavior. But realistically, there's no benefit to talking to 30 different people about your personal problems, especially if who you were talking about is a public figure. It doesn't help to have your new boyfriend or whatever that situation is called with Tim do interviews with YouTubers who like, obviously have a negative slant against Destiny, which is exactly what that guy did. Regardless of even if they were telling the truth.
No fucking way.
Perception of these things, it's going to be more drama. So do not do that. Honestly, why even respond publicly at all? This guy is also like responding to Sneeko on TikTok, getting in drama with him.
Like this dude is sitting on her lap like a baby. This dude, it's like a trans. This dude is transgender. Astaghfirullah.
Astaghfirullah.
Melina's dress. And it was fun, honestly, but I totally get it if trying out women's clothing is too much for you. Now, this one's not really women's clothing, so I don't really have a reason to bring this up other than the fact that I want to roast Sneeko a little bit. But you do have to admit that he does look a little bit like a Red Pill adaptation of a poor B-movie cosplay.
Oh, this is Chris from Mr. Beast. Bomboka. Imagine losing your marriage to Chris from Mr. Beast.
That is very problematic, but I've got to admit, a little funny.
That's very problematic, but I have to admit, a little funny. Yeah, I mean, he's right about Sneeko overall, but just why? Why even let your relationships become a drama like this when you know there's nothing to gain? Why is it so hard for people to shut their mouths? Just eat some peanut butter so you have a hard time talking or something, okay? Peanut butter bros, we need to be peanut maxing at all times. You need to be clogging up your mouth. You want to be able to breathe, but you want to be eating so much peanut butter that you're just not talking, and you know, you're not talking at a turn.
You said that you've been in open relationships since high school. All of your relationships have been open?
Yeah.
Why?
So, okay. Went to high school, fell in love with a guy. He had a lot of like commitment problems and didn't really want to like date around. So, and I knew that he was seeing other people. So I kind of like just had to like learn how to deal with it a little bit.
So wait, hold on. Did you want that relationship, that first relationship?
I wanted that relationship really bad.
Did you want it to be just you and him? If you had been able to make that decision?
I don't think it really came to my mind. It was just more like I just want him. That's That's it.
Okay.
And then I met another person, or someone in my class that said that he was dealing with a polyamorous relationship, and I was like, what is that? And then he explained like, oh, so I'm dating like 2 people at the same time, and my partner is, or one of them is dating multiple people too, and that's just how it is. I'm like, well, that kind of makes sense. Why would you have to? I've never heard that before. So it felt more like oh, yeah, I think that's me.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, I guess. Sounds like a bad reason to be in an open relationship, though. But, you know, maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm wrong. You never know. I remember Destiny said on stream he thinks Melina would be happier in a closed relationship. I think most people would be happier that way. But once again, hey, maybe that's just me. Honestly, I don't envy anyone in this situation. Destiny seems to be fine with the fact that his private relationship...
There we go.
He can respond in confidence with the truth. But whether it's true or not, I personally would not want my private relationship details to be public ever, because it's like, that's a relationship that's private. It's meant to be, you know, enjoyed privately, both through the highs and lows. So I just don't, you know, envy people in this situation. Anyway, if you guys like this video, leave a like. If you dislike it, leave a dislike. Drop a comment down below with your thoughts on all of this, and I'll see you all in the next video, which is going to be out tomorrow. Bye. And be sure to become a member.
Good
$5 a
game.
month. They get the members-only podcast and exclusive videos that only members get. Thanks so much for your support.
Boom, victory. Fuck yes.
I still love the name.
You don't remember the name.
Of course I remember the name.
We didn't even tell anybody what the name was.
100% told me the name.
I bet you $1 million.
Skip.
I want to teach men the sense of their existence, which is the Ubermensch. The lightning out of the dark cloud are the Ubermensch, the domain of philosophers, revolutionaries, and edgy teenagers. This has got to be one of Nietzsche's most famous ideas, but perhaps also his most misunderstood one. The Ubermensch is often characterized as just a very strong guy, or a kind of alpha type who sits at the top of our current.
Alright, I gotta go take a piss. I don't know why I piss so much, bro. Let's go. Let's go right here. Alright. Yeah. I'm not gonna do that today. What the fuck? Draining the swamp explained.
One simple but brilliant trick to heat your home in 90 seconds and save thousands of dollars on your heating bill this winter. This genius way to heat
I fuck with it.
Take a straight and stronger course to the corner of your life. Make the White Queen run so fast. She hasn't got time to make you wife. Cause it's time with your time, and this news is captured. For the Queen to use, move me on to any black square. Use me anytime you want. Just remember that the goal is for us all to capture all we want. Don't surround yourself with yourself. Move on back to square. Send an instant comment to me. Initial it with a loving
Whoa. I can't believe that I did that. I didn't have the second screen up the whole fucking time. What the fuck? Dumbass, bro. Okay, looks like...
Yes, we can.
Former President Barack Obama, the Great Deceiver, instilled so much
Great
hope in
Deceiver.
the public. Yet, as time unraveled, more and more of his word became a lie, and a setup for the deep state to roll out a massive depopulation agenda was further established. One that would have carried on had Hillary won the 2016 election. The Georgia Guidestones had been set in stone for this Freemason agenda, but over the last 7 years the agenda had been destroyed. Hillary was meant to win. At least the deep state had rigged the election so she would, but they didn't realize how much rigging they'd need to do. Because Trump became so popular, they lost. The corrupt DC establishment had lost touch with reality and figured because they had the media in their pocket, they truly thought they would win. Despite the lawsuit with Fox News, Dominion has a proven track record of voter fraud. See Venezuela and how the people reacted when their election was rigged. Or watch
bro.
Volume 2.
What?
Cover the 2020 election.
No alliances? Ah, fuck me.
Detail. Trump is still commander-in-chief.
Huh?
Despite the 2020 election results, and the clues are left in military laws and orders such as the Military Justice Act Executive Order 13818, 13848, 13912, and many more. When Trump became president, he would need the aid of the world to eradicate the swamp effectively. And to get this sort of power, he used whitemail in order to give corrupt countries and individuals the chance to do the right thing. We had everything. All the documents to prove the human rights violations they had committed, including voter fraud. There has been so much confusion in the truther community regarding Donald Trump. Is he a white hat? Is he a black hat? Are we all being deceived by the great deceiver? What do you think Obama was? The moment presidential power was lost by the deep state in D.C., the military, the Alliance of World Generals, and UN Security Council understood they had 4 years to set the groundwork for the plan that would ultimately drain the swamp and free the world from a future of tyranny under a one-world government. What so many failed to realize or give importance to are the details that show exactly how Trump, through executive orders and laws, took the necessary steps to protect our democratic republic and, more importantly, expose and eradicate the deep state that had been growing like a cancer throughout the world. The U.S. was placed under the crown with the 1871 Organic Act. The bar was quickly established thereafter, and what we know as the U.S. Democratic Republic became a corporation. What the military and Trump are doing now is bankrupting and dismantling that corporation. It may or may not have crossed your path, the famous capitulation tour, where Trump toured the world and met with every superpower, and was given a royal display of submission by each one. What would make each superpower submit to Donald Trump? Well, we had everything. Black hats use blackmail, and white hats use whitemail, where the latter uses information to force people into wrongdoing. The former uses information to give the chance of right-doing. So what if I told you Donald Trump is still Commander-in-Chief? I can hear loads of people thinking, of course he is. The election was rigged. You are correct, but it goes much deeper than that. I can also hear a crowd of you thinking, well, no, he's not president. And if he is, explain everything. Explain Biden's presidency. Explain the vaccine. Explain why this is happening. There is a big difference between president and commander-in-chief. This film is for believers, and primarily for the doubters. The information to be presented can be verified via military executive orders and laws. That means this film isn't purely theoretical. Its majority is based in fact. It's based upon documentation that
Alright, we're
derives
speeding
from
this up.
.gov and .mil websites. This allows viewers to continue their research after the seeds of this film have been planted. Don't just blindly believe what is to be shown here. Let it guide you. By doing your own research, you will earn the reward of understanding, and will be better able to explain this to your peers, and the hope you had forgotten will return in greater strength than ever before. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. By the end, you will realize why they say this is the greatest show on earth. To really understand current events, it's important to first get a grasp on the past. The Organic Act of 1871.
Okay, so he's...
On February 21st, 1871, the 41st Congress passed legislation entitled An Act to Provide a Government for the District of Columbia. This is known as Act of 1871. By this action, and with no constitutional authority, a separate form of government and constitution was created for the 10 square miles of land known as the District of Columbia, or Washington, D.C. Incorporated. The original U.S. Constitution was entitled The Constitution for the United States of America. The Act of 1871 changed that title to read The Constitution of the United States of America. By changing the title and the capitalization of the Constitution, the people were removed from this new Constitution. This new Constitution serves only for the corporation of the United States and not for the people of America. The people now have no rights or freedoms, no ownership of property, no right to travel, no right to marry, no right to do business. They are only debt slaves who must serve the corporation. Slaves have no rights, only privileges and permission to live on their master's property. Should they try in any way to use the corporate constitution, they will be charged with criminal trespass because they are not a party to this private contract entitled the Constitution of the United States of America. Our Constitution explicitly states that no citizen shall pay any direct tax to the federal government. Why are the citizens in all our sovereign states forced to pay federal income tax, which is collected by a foreign corporation of England called the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS? Our Constitution explicitly states that our currency is to be backed fully by gold and silver, and that our banking system is to be under control of the Treasury of the United States of America and the Congress. Why is it that I cannot receive gold or silver coin for my currency at my bank? Why does our paper money say Federal Reserve note and not gold or silver certificate, as it once did? Why are our banks called Federal Reserve Banks and not U.S. Treasury Banks? Why is the Federal Reserve Bank system owned by a British foreign corporation and controlled by the 13 most wealthy families of our world?
The strength of a nation's currency is based on the strength of that nation's economy, and the American economy is by far the strongest in the world. Accordingly, I have directed the Secretary of the Treasury to take the action necessary to defend the dollar against the speculators. I directed Secretary Connolly to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States.
Do you understand this is why you are charged fees to travel, to marry, to do business, or even visit corporate parks? Do you understand why you must pay income tax, bank interest, and lose all your collateral in foreclosure? Do you understand why you lose in court? Why your family has no privacy or security? And why the feds are all over the 50 states? The deep state blossomed in Washington, D.C. For over 100 years, it's become a nest bed for highly corrupt, power-seeking individuals, all working for the 13 most wealthy families in the world. This is the swamp. Draining the swamp that's been growing for over 100 plus years requires a multi-layered operation that in order for it to be pulled off, it can't look obvious. It's done behind the scenes and requires a lot of thought, planning, organization, and most importantly, time. Why is it taking so long? Have you ever heard of Stockholm Syndrome? It's a condition in which hostages develop a psychological bond with their captors. We are those hostages. The brainwash of 100 plus years has a large portion of the public willing to fight for their captors. To prevent civil upheaval, the operation to take down the deep state had to include the eradication of years of brainwashing propaganda from the collective human psyche.
How dare you?
Thankfully,
How
many
dare
are
you?
awake, and as of 2023, many more are awakening. Therefore, this operation isn't going to be published on the news. Not yet, at least. But knowing all this allows us to read in between the lines regarding current events, which include military executive orders, national emergencies, Trump's capitulation tour, COVID-19, and January 6th. They don't call this the Great Awakening for nothing. In order to start reading in between the lines and seeing current events with more accuracy, God helped us understand this plan further. With the help of military veteran Derek Johnson, his analysis of sequential events regarding military action and President Trump's executive orders and national emergencies, and even Biden's continuation of those orders, we clearly see Donald Trump is still Commander-in-Chief, under the continuation of government, also known as devolution. And because of national emergencies kept active by President Biden, which are in complete disordance to what Joe Biden has stood for his entire political career, it's very obvious. Once it clicks, the military, not DC, and with the Constitution put on pause, is in full control. What you're about to see is a detailed outline of military law, executive orders, and Trump's whereabouts throughout the world, all starting from 2015. When put together sequentially, it'll make sense, the order of events that took place to set the stage for the greatest show on Earth.
Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning, because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people.
All right.
Department of Defense, the Law of War Manual, June 12, 2015. The Law of War Manual is the Department of Defense's war manual. It was signed on June 12, 2015. It's a combination of military and federal lawyers who took the Lieber Code of 1863, Geneva Conventions, Hague Conventions, Nuremberg trials, the law of war manuals from the United Kingdom, Canada, Germany, and Australia, and all the strengths of those to strengthen the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is military law.
Boom. And back out.
The Golden Escalator.
The Golden
In
Escalator.
his announcement,
Based.
Trump came down the Golden Escalator at Trump Tower prior to announcing his run for president. What are the odds of that, just 4 days after the Law of War Manual was passed? The Military Justice Act of 2016 is the Supreme Court clarifying military laws and courts are separate from civil laws and courts. It clarifies military personnel are different from civil. Federal Continuity Directive 1, January 17th, 2017. The Federal Continuity Directive 1 was signed 3 days before Donald Trump took office. Looking into the appendix, it defines
Should
devolution
I
and
kill?
reconstitution. To help you understand further, we must understand devolution, also known as reconstitution. Devolution. Devolution is a component of continuity planning that establishes procedures to transfer statutory authority and responsibilities from an organization's primary operating staff and facilities to another designated staff and one or more facilities for the purpose of sustaining.
Is he gonna kill
Devolution
Green?
may be temporary or may endure for an extended period. A devolution
What's his
plan is
plan here?
activated upon the threat of or in response to a catastrophic emergency that either renders the organization's primary leadership and operating staff unavailable or leaves them incapable of sustaining essential functions from primary facilities. Reconstitution. Reconstitution is the final phase of a continuity event, the process by which surviving and/or replacement personnel resume normal operations and may occur at any designated location that provides the staff, facilities, and systems necessary to sustain essential functions. Just prior to the signing of Federal Continuity Directive 2 on June 13th, 2017, the directive that would actually implement the continuity of government and so much more, Trump embarked on an international tour, famously known as the Capitulation Tour.
Boom, 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 boom. I love the fucking soundtrack to this, bro. This is like boom, 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 boom. Israel.
Saudi Arabia, sword dance, May 20th, 2017.
Pushing down on me, pushing down on me, let you go.
For Trump to be the only U.S. president to be involved in a Saudi Arabia sword dance is pure symbolism. This was symbolic of going to war together. The history and significance of sword dancing is important to note. The most common arda in Saudi, called the Najdi Arda, initially performed by Arab warriors in the central Najd region of Saudi before meeting their enemies on the battlefield. Sword dancing was a way for the men to display their weaponry and show their heroic spirit. The Najdi Arda also recalls the battles led by King Abdulaziz Al Saud, the founder of Saudi Arabia. Trump came to Saudi with folders displaying the military had everything on their corruption. The only way out of their heinous crimes was to bend the knee to the U.S. and to capitulate, a vow to bring down the New World Order together.
Ah, shit.
And what better way of showing their submission than with an honorable sword dance? Having Saudi Arabia on board meant the first sign of the deep state pyramid had collapsed. 2 days later, Trump would go to Israel to do the same.
I should have.
May 22nd, 2017.
I should have used the slider. Holy shit, that was bad.
On Monday, May 22nd, President Trump arrived in Israel and was welcomed by President Rivlin. Shortly after arriving, President Trump and Rivlin delivered remarks. Most importantly, President Rivlin proclaimed,
America is back in the area. America is back again.
Israel publicly submitted by allowing the U.S. to move our embassy to Jerusalem and with our military protection. And to this day, Saudi Arabia and Israel are still getting along. Make note that Trump visited the Wailing Wall just prior to Israel moving their embassy. If you've ever heard people falsely claim Trump a Jesuit, this is where the false interpretation comes from. Many researchers are short-sighted. It makes them lazy, and they pause their ambitious research at this wall. Pun intended. They judge the trees, but not the forest, therefore misunderstanding. This was a massive goal in the capitulation tour. What comes next, just 2 days later, is the most important stop of the entire tour, the Vatican.
Under pressure!
Trump left Israel and flew straight to Rome, May 24th, 2017. Pope Francis would now be shown concrete evidence of human trafficking provided by the new coalition of U.S., Saudi Arabia, and Israel. Red lines were drawn in the sand at Rome. The outcome? The Pope submitted to the U.S. publicly in this famous picture.
The Pope wasn't happy. You should find the picture of him visiting the Pope. It took 650 planes to remove our gold from the Vatican Bank.
Think he's always frowning like that? Have a look when Pope Francis was visited by Obama. That same day, Trump flew to visit NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and the EU, the European Union. May 25th, 2017. The EU is a unique and essential partner for NATO, as the two organizations share a majority of members, have common values, and face similar threats and challenges. EU leaders publicly submitted when Trump walked in late like a boss.
Huh. Like a boss.
Because now, we had everything. Trump truly was their boss. Both the EU and NATO now realized they have it all, and were instructed to stand down on Brexit and pay more for NATO. Now with the Middle East and European powers of the pyramid submitting, a monumental move forward could happen. That move was the implementation of the continuation of government. Federal Continuity Directive 2, June 13th, 2017. FCD2 outlines requirements and provides checklists and resources to assist federal...
I really hope I don't get DOC takedown
Federal Executive Branch departments
from this.
in identifying and assessing their essential functions through a risk-based process, and in identifying candidate primary mission essential functions that support the national essential functions. In short, FCD2 provides the implementation protocols for the continuation of government and so much more. Just 4 months later, after getting wind of what Trump was doing, the deep state cabal tried to strike back. The Las Vegas Massacre, October 1st, 2017.
In a matter of seconds, a country music festival turned tragic, a storm of gunfire raining down upon an innocent crowd.
Q-Post 117 implied that they tried to take out the new Saudi Arabian Crown Prince bin Salman, who was a good guy in this film. The evil villain, the former Saudi Arabia Crown Prince Al-Walid. It was during the Las Vegas battle that he was neutralized. Al-Walid just happened to control Twitter. Now, we control Twitter, or X. Contrary to what I believe in the past, this points to Elon being a white hat. It's pretty obvious when you pay attention to what he's saying.
Elon, you tweeted this thing about George Soros. Well, I'm looking for it because I want to make sure I quote it properly. But I mean, you know what you wrote. But you basically
reminds me of my videos. It's like, calm down, people. Let's listen up. Like, get a face out of it.
You also you said he wants to erode the very fabric of civilization, and Soros hates humanity. Like when you do something like that, do you
I think that's true. That's my opinion.
Okay, but why share it?
Huh.
Why share it? Especially
Paste.
Why share it when people who buy Teslas may not agree with you, advertisers on Twitter may not agree with you? Why not just say, hey, I think this? You can tell me. We can talk about it over there. You can tell your friends. But why share it? Why?
I mean, there's a freedom of speech. I'm allowed to say what I want.
Absolutely are, but I'm trying to understand why you do.
I've never seen this interview. I've never seen this interview.
It puts you in the middle of a partisan divide in the country. It makes you a lightning rod for criticism. I mean, do you like that? People today are saying he's an anti-Semite. I don't think you are.
No, I'm definitely. I'm like a pro-Semite, if anything.
I believe that probably is the case. Yes. Why would you even introduce the idea then? That would be the case.
I mean, listen, we don't want to make this a door source interview.
No, God, no. I don't want to at all. But what I'm trying, even came up in the annual meeting. I mean, do your tweets hurt the company? Are there Tesla owners who say, I don't agree with his political position and I know it because he shares so much of it? Or are there advertisers on Twitter that Linda Yaccarino will come and say, you got to stop, man. Or, I can't get these ads because of some of the things you tweet.
I'm reminded of the scene in The Princess Bride, great movie, where he confronts the person who killed his father, and he says, offer me money, offer me power, I don't care.
Huh. Fuck off.
Las Vegas Massacre was a key event, as Trump saved bin Salman's life, as intel had shown Prince Al-Walid was planning to assassinate him. As we mentioned before, we had everything. Now bin Salman owes his life to Trump, which led to the Saudi government overthrow, October 24th, 2017.
All right, so we begin in Saudi Arabia, where Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has detained some of the most high-profile members of the royal family, and that includes former Crown Prince Mohammed bin Nayef, as well as Prince Ahmed bin Abdul Aziz Al Saud, and the younger brother of the Saudi king. It suggests that they have both been accused of treason. The Saudi guards have also arrested one of Mohammed bin Nayef's brothers. They're now likely to be under the threat of life imprisonment or possible execution. Both could have rivaled Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman to the throne if King Salman died.
Quite a surprising move here by Prince Mohammed. I mean, most of all, this arrest
No, I'm not. I'm a good cook. Okay?
of Al Walid. What does this mean for? Let's tackle Al Walid first. He's being detained. We're not exactly sure where, but what does this exactly mean for him and Kingdom Holding?
23 days later, one side of the pyramid fell completely when Saudi Prince Al Walid was arrested by Mohammed bin Salman. This happened just 3 weeks after the Las Vegas massacre. Prince Al Walid owns the top floors of the Mandalay Bay. Intel points to Trump being in Vegas that night, and a few weeks later, the Saudi government gets overthrown. Now the capitulation tour would continue as Trump made his way to Asia for a 13-day, 5-nation tour.
Why would he card block him here? That's a dumb idea on Black's part. And then leave these open? Oh, fuck!
This was the first in Japanese history. Just 1 month after Trump's visit, the Japanese cabinet finalized their decision and suggested that April 2019 would be a good date for Japanese Emperor Akihito's official abdication.
A sacred ceremony to mark the transition to a new era for the world's oldest continuous monarchy. With 2 of the 3 mysterious imperial regalia, a sword and a jewel, the emperor gave his final speech.
Emperor Akihito was abdicated due to failure of his duties as emperor. And the symbolism of Japan's submission was when they allowed Trump to become the first ever U.S. president to hand out the sumo champion trophy. Alas, another old house family removed from control. South and North Korea.
What is he doing? Is he moving that to there?
November 7th, 2017.
Really?
Trump left Japan and flew to South Korea. Just weeks prior to arrival, the nuclear research mountain in North Korea collapsed, killing their nuclear scientist.
During the latest test in September 2017, a bomb believed to have an explosive yield of 100.
Oh, shit!
Powerful explosion. It caused an initial 6.3 magnitude
Is he gonna fucking do that? Oh, okay, good.
tremor and triggered several more earthquakes in the weeks that followed.
Was this to remove?
Because I had to bring you your dinner. That's why I started streaming so late.
The nuclear threat? Was it to intimidate Kim Jong-un? Could it have been both? What Trump said in his speech to the South Korean Assembly pairs well with what happened in North Korea just weeks prior.
This is a very different administration.
Bro, why is this fucking buffering so...
Than the United States has had in the past. Today I hope I speak not only for our countries, but for all civilized nations. When I say to the North, do not underestimate us. And do not try us. I also have come here to this peninsula to deliver a message directly to the leader of the North Korean dictatorship. The weapons you are acquiring are not making you safer. They are putting your regime in grave danger. Every step you take down this dark path increases the peril you face.
It would be only 18 months later that Trump would become the first U.S. president to cross the border into North Korea.
One of the
Yeah, leave that wall for me. No, fuck you. Leave the wall. What the fuck? This is pissing me off.
most militarized borders on Earth. An historic handshake.
Good to see you again. I've never expected to meet you at this place.
A US president, a North Korean leader, and an extraordinary invitation. And Donald Trump didn't disappoint. Not just stepping, but positively striding into history books, the first sitting American president to meet a leader in the North.
China, November 8th to 10th, 2017. Trump then flies to China at the invitation of Chinese President Xi Jinping to meet and dine in the Forbidden City. Trump became the first foreign leader to ever dine in the Forbidden City.
Bro, Black really fucked us. He fucked him and fucked me. Like, what the... Why? Why would he do this? He's a fucking idiot.
Since the founding of modern China. This is a massive act of submission. Remember,
Fuck!
Xi Jinping had already visited Trump at
I don't even
Mar-a-Lago
have good
for a few days
cards.
in spring 2017. It's evident China wanted to rid itself of the deep state as well. Two days later, on November 12th, 2017, Trump visits Vietnam. Trump then heads to Vietnam to get Southeast Asian leaders to submit, including Singapore and the Philippines. Trump is placed in the honor position to the right of the Vietnam leader as proof of submission. At the core of it all, it's about stopping trafficking. Philippines submit. On the Council of Foreign Relations website, Joshua Kurlansik writes on Trump and Philippines president having a bromance. He points to Trump making human rights a low priority in Southeast Asia. Joshua writes, the Philippine president seems to appreciate a U.S. leader who has made human rights a low priority in Southeast Asia and who thus has mostly ignored any criticism of Duterte's undermining of the rule of law. Indeed, the Trump administration has downplayed human rights in all aspects of U.S. foreign policy, including bilateral meetings with foreign leaders and funding for rights and democracy programs within the U.S. government, among other areas. Trump extended his stay to attend another summit, and this marked the end of the Asia tour. And with no coincidence, the Trump administration executive orders, particularly on human rights violations, appear just 1 month later. Donald John Trump would declare national emergency with respect to serious human rights abuse and corruption around the world. Before we explore Executive Order 13818, it's best to take a minute to understand what an executive order actually is. Being
Might be able to get
32% of Americans can accurately name all three branches of government. Knowing the importance and meaning of an executive order is imperative, as the coming executive orders of late 2017 and 2018 and beyond are the framework, the blueprint, that has allowed monumental action to take place in taking down the deep state.
The power of the pen. With just their signatures, U.S. presidents can issue executive orders, documents that direct the actions of the federal government. They have the force of law. There are limits on the president's ability to issue orders. The order must specify what authority is used to make it, either the Constitution or a law. Executive orders can be overturned.
Yes.
Can rule them unconstitutional. Congress can refuse to spend money to carry out an order. Congress can pass legislation.
Hopefully he doesn't get it.
Future presidents can undo an order.
Come
by
on.
issuing a new
Come
order.
on.
All U.S. presidents except one,
Don't get the
Henry Harrison,
kill.
who died after
Feed
one
me
of
the
Congress,
kill.
have issued at least one executive order, and some executive orders make history.
Shit.
Presidents use executive orders to shift priorities and change the way
He's gonna get the kill, and then he's gonna come for me. Shit. Lose too many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Shit, he's gonna make it.
Executive Order 13818, December 20.
Oh!
By Executive Order 13818, the President declared a national emergency with respect to serious human rights abuse and corruption around the world, and pursuant to the International Emergency Act.
If he doesn't get a trade, I get the kill. Oh, yes.
Deal with the unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States.
Doesn't seem to have a trade.
A national emergency is a situation in which a government is empowered to perform actions not normally permitted. The 1976 National Emergencies Act implements various legal requirements regarding emergencies declared by the President of the United States. Setting an executive order with a national emergency is a very big deal. This executive order was solely based at its core a means to stop massive human rights violations around the world. The year ends, Trump begins 2018 with a continuation of the capitulation tour. Davos, Switzerland. January 26, 2018. As we enter 20...
This is pretty shitty. But hopefully hopefully Red gives me
2018. The world leaders
my
understand
bonus. Because he sees that I got fucked.
average U.S. citizens are waking up to Q. Trump flies into the lion's den at Davos, Switzerland, with Soros present. All the largest global CEOs and bankers submit to Trump at Davos, and you can see Trump has been given the seat of honor right in the center. The CEOs and bankers understood what you understand now. They knew the U.S. was under military control, and to survive, they had to play ball. Trump stated, "The world is witnessing the resurgence of a strong and prosperous America." And just 2 months after, on a Trump-approved submission trip, Mohammed bin Salman heads to Silicon Valley, a valley where Saudi Prince Al-Walid no longer held superiority. Mohammed bin Salman tours Silicon Valley, March 20th, 2018. With the takedown of puppeteer Al-Walid, Crown Prince bin Salman goes on a Trump-approved submission trip to all the CEOs formerly owned and controlled by the Saudi Arabia side of the pyramid: Google, Apple, Twitter, Facebook, Microsoft. Donald Trump has set the chess table properly by assembling a worldwide task force that would essentially team up with the U.S. military to drain the swamp. As Mohammed bin Salman set Silicon Valley straight, Trump came back to the White House and got busy. From January to December of 2018, Donald Trump would publish 37 executive orders.
Why?
From Executive Order 13820 to Executive Order 13856. The most important order would be 13848. We'll get to that very soon. Trump invites Macron to the White House. Macron is married to one of the deep state, and he worked for the Rothschilds, yet he completely submitted to Trump in these photos. Trump has it all, and these leaders are being tasked with cleaning up their deep states, or Trump will declass it all. The Queen submits, July 14th, 2018. The Queen submitted to Trump when she allowed him to walk in front of her during a review of her honor guard. Then, she placed Trump under her sigil in the center position. Then, she had him sit in Winston Churchill's chair. Total submission photos. As Trump continues on his global submission tour, he visits Norway to meet Putin, July 25th, 2018. In that famous summit, Putin throws Trump a soccer ball and says, "The ball is in your court." Absolute submission. The entire world is playing ball now. Now for the most important executive order, 13848, September 12th, 2018. Election interference. It was written 2 months before any election under Donald Trump. It's current and active till September 2024. That's right, Joe Biden has extended this executive order. This is a clue that the president is acting under Commander-in-Chief. This executive order traps all governors, attorneys, generals, secretary of states, judges, and lawyers for not upholding and implying and enforcing the law. Executive Order 13848 carries a national emergency within it. Keep in mind, this was signed 2 months before any election under Donald Trump. It was 2 years before the presidential election of 2020 and 2 months before the midterms, meaning the only evidence of voter fraud was 2016 and prior. This explains why the Hillary camp, the DNC, and the Mockingbird media all sang the same tune, Trump won't win. Executive Order 13848 specifically says, although there has been no evidence of a foreign power altering the outcome or vote tabulation in any United States election, foreign powers have historically sought to exploit America's free and open political system. Executive Order 13848 defines who it isn't referring to. Therefore, it defines who it is. If not foreign, it's domestic. It's referring to the Washington establishment. It's referring to the deep state, the cabal, the swamp. Trump now takes the capitulation tour to South America, Argentina, November 29th, 2018. Trump corrals all the global bankers together and forces their submission. Then, Trump walks off stage, leaving the Argentinian president all alone, showing Argentina's submission to Trump. Argentina is a trafficking hideout. It's why the Obamas frequently visit. 3 weeks later, Trump invites Brazil's Bolsonaro to the White House. March 19th, 2019. Trump welcomes a new friend to the table when Brazil elects their version of Trump with Bolsonaro as president. Many see the submission with his hands clasped, and quickly after his visit, Bolsonaro arrests Oprah's best friend, then accused trafficker, now guilty, John of God. Theresa May, May 24th, 2019. Remember when Theresa May cried and resigned to allow Boris Johnson, who's a Trump supporter, to take over as Prime Minister of England? May owes her life to Trump. Intel hinted that Trump alerted May to a hit on her by the deep state.
So much to be optimistic about. I will shortly leave the job that it has been the honour of my life to hold. The second female Prime Minister, but certainly not the last. I do so with no ill will, but with enormous and enduring gratitude to have had the opportunity to serve the country I love.
She's crying because they were going to kill her, and she was saved by Trump.
How does he know this, though? Like, where does he have any proof about that? That just seems like some crazy thing that he just made up.
Established December 20th, 2019. The U.S. Space Force is responsible for organizing, training, and equipping Guardians to conduct global space operations that enhance the way our joint and coalition forces fight, while also offering decision-makers military options to achieve national objectives. Enhance the way our joint and coalition forces fight? This sounds like the branch of the military responsible for worldwide military operatives. Certainly something that was established on Trump's capitulation tour. It's key to note that Russia was the first nation to have a Space Force, and the Russians are known for gathering intel. It is said that Space Force was active in collecting all the election fraud that occurred during the 2020 election. After the onslaught of attempted indictments on Trump, there is now a leg to stand on legally for Trump to showcase the data they have that proves the election was rigged. Before Trump ends his international visits, he heads to India.
Shit!
Trump visits India, February 25th, 2020. Trump now turns his focus to India. Their leader Modi submits publicly to Trump with these hugs. He also clasped his hands together in this photo to show his hands were tied as he submitted.
Yeah, that's a smarter move.
And they're very symbolic. Trump was greeted with a stadium of 100,000 Indians chanting, "Namaste, Trump!"
I hope he loses all of his fucking people here. That'd be hilarious. Come on, come on. His shit died. What? What the f- He only lost one dude?
Trump ends his international visits with India and immediately focused on the battlefront back home. This is when the deep state released their Ukrainian bioweapon. COVID-19, March 13th, 2020. Chaos and division equals power acquisition. COVID was a biological chemical attack. It was going to be used with Hillary as president. They created a problem they already had a solution to. When you know Bush Jr. wrote presidential directives for federal continuity, and, even more damning, when you apply that Obama wrote an executive order in 2009 that specifically says, establishing federal capability for the timely provision of medical countermeasures following a biological attack, along with mainstream news sources. Bill Gates talking about pandemics and vaccines in 2012. It's very easy to see what was going to happen. How it happened is what you need to understand. The military and World Alliance of Generals gave all the Washington establishment via Congress the chance to do what was right for humanity, but they didn't. They had their rats in Ukraine relinquish these attacks. It wasn't China. There's multiple cities in Ukraine where biochemical labs are, those that Russia's bombing, with the name China attached to the Ukrainian spelling. It all ties in and makes sense when you apply the timelines and facts. On March 13th, 2020, Trump declared a nationwide emergency under the
I'm not gonna go in then, if they have these two bots.
And Emergency Assistance Act, authorizing assistance administered by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, the first known instance of FEMA serving in such a role for a public health incident. So, Russia is just annihilating and bombing Ukraine for no reason, or just because they want their land back? And that requires this kind of list from your taxpayer money? It doesn't make sense. Instead, if you flip the scenario and apply the facts, it makes plenty sense. Obama wrote 3 executive orders for Ukraine in 2014. VP Biden made 7 trips in 7 months to Ukraine in 2014. In 2014, there was not a traditional election held in March. It was called a snap election, when Poroshenko won the first round and there wasn't a second. Obama congratulated him 2 days after that election. Ukraine broke the CIS treaty in 2018 with Russia. Putin hands the soccer ball to Commander-in-Chief Trump in 2018. Russia doesn't participate in the World Cup 2022? Not participating in one of their most loved sports? The soccer ball represents, the ball is in your court, Mr. President. You tell me what you want me to do. Commander-in-Chief Trump never started any wars. He got Russia to bomb these Nazi-ran biochemical labs. The only Ukrainians fighting in Russia are Nazi soldiers, defending these biochemical labs that the United States criminals were funding. Clinton, Bush Jr., Obama, Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, John Kerry, Mitt Romney, and the list goes on. Hunter Biden is now under serious investigation. Pause for 1 second and realize that the majority of what you see coming from the mainstream is actually military controlled. The same time Hunter is being investigated is the same time Trump is being indicted, which is the perfect setup for all red pills to fall like rain at the same time. Luckily, COVID wasn't as bad, as they've skewed the numbers, and the majority of those vaccines were saline. The military knew what was going on and did everything to prevent as much as they could. The rest of it is to wake us up. It wasn't fun for anyone. This is war, and it's up to you to understand who's who and the blueprint. Just think back to friends and family members who are so distant from your point of view, that are now getting closer to it by simply observing the sheer fuckery of the last 2 years.
The sheer fuckery.
The Fed submitted. March 15th, 2020. During COVID, the Federal Reserve took a backseat to the Trump-controlled Treasury Department for the first time in 100 years. The Fed submitted and paid out all liquidity while our Treasury secured the assets. It used to be the other way around. Fast forward to a glimpse of today and the Federal Reserve has gone bankrupt. New financial systems are being created, the dollar is failing and will die fairly soon.
Here's the G7, a group of 7 of the world's advanced economies, including the US, UK, and Japan. And here's what some call the alternative from the developing world, the BRICS, formed by Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. The BRICS is trying to position itself as the voice for emerging economies and challenge Western dominance of global affairs. Its leaders are holding a summit in Johannesburg to discuss an historic expansion. More than 40 countries, including Saudi Arabia and Iran,
Oh
are to join.
Lord.
The expansion of BRICS could definitely boost the group's global influence.
Let's look at what a potential enlargement means for the alliance and its ambitions to shake up the global political and economic order.
The original term BRIC was actually coined by a Goldman Sachs banker, grouping these really different countries together because they were so fast growing.
The leaders of Brazil, Russia, India, and China formalized their relationship in 2009 and invited South Africa to join the alliance a year later.
They decided to take that idea in an effort to create a bit of a political and economic counterpoint to what's perceived as the Western hegemony of the global political and economic spheres.
The BRICS countries together make up more than 40% of the world's population and almost a third of the world's GDP. According to data from the International Monetary Fund, the bloc has already overtaken the G7 nations' share of the global economy on the basis of purchasing power parity. That's where the purchasing power of different currencies is equalized. Projections by Goldman Sachs show the world's economic balance shifting towards the BRICS and emerging economies. China is expected to overtake the US as the world's largest economy by 2050, with India climbing to number 3.
China and India have experienced massive growth since the BRICS were founded in 2009 and certainly have helped them swell in importance and remain relevant on the global stage.
China and Russia are pushing to enlarge BRICS. Experts say Beijing is keen to create an alternative grouping to counter the US and the West on the world stage.
China has been bullish on expanding BRICS for some time, and they're particularly keen at the moment because of the trade tensions with the US looking to diversify its supply chains away from China.
Russia sees an expansion as a way to gain more international allies following its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. South Africa publicly supports the expansion, as does Brazil, but experts say behind the scenes, Brazil and India want a more measured approach.
It seems that they are concerned about the group leaning too autocratic, so they want to have very specific requirements for admission to make sure that there is a balance amongst the members.
Oh Lord.
Sort of the autocratic G7.
I can hear
more than 20 countries have formally
all
applied
my
for
life.
ranging from Saudi Arabia
Oh
to
Lord.
Ethiopia, Argentina, and Indonesia. Experts say Saudi Arabia is a strong
Alright,
candidate.
we're gonna
as a
slow
major
this.
economic and energy power in the Middle East, with a growing role in regional diplomacy. Indonesia, with the world's 4th largest population, is another strong contender.
Indonesia, being such a large economy and important in the electrification, clean energy tech, electric vehicles, might be a logical choice.
One reason for joining the BRICS is gaining access to the bloc's new development bank. Since its founding in 2014, the bank has approved more than $30 billion in loans for development and infrastructure projects.
Access to funding from this bank, which seem to be having more favorable terms than a traditional development bank like the World Bank or the IMF, is definitely something that's attractive to a lot of countries.
The new development bank also wants to deepen the use of local currencies instead of the US dollar for trade and financing between the BRICS nations. Ultimately, experts say one of the biggest challenges for the BRICS to counter the West is to form a united voice on major global issues.
Generally, the countries have pretty diverse and diverging interests in politics, on security issues, and even relations with the US. I think the group would like to be seen as an alternative political forum to the G7 group of developed nations. Whether or not it is able to achieve that, I think will largely depend on what countries it admits.
Executive Order 13912. March 27th, 2020. Donald Trump federalizes the National Guard and Reserves to active duty because of those unaddressed national emergencies. From 2017 to March 2020, Donald Trump declared 9 national emergencies. 7 were in executive orders, all were unaddressed by Congress. This equals a military operation, a continuation of government, a destroying of the federal corporation. Executive Order 13919. April 30th, 2020. President Trump signed Executive Order 13919, which gives the Secretary of Defense the authority to activate the reserve components of the military to federal duty. The military generals and their commanders, and Commander-in-Chief Trump, are now in full control of our nation and have been under multiple clauses under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, the Constitution, and federal law. All this implicates that Joe Biden is not the president. If Biden was actually president, would he extend a number of these executive orders that go against his lifelong policies? Ones created by Trump specifically meant for the takedown of the cabal? This is a perfect sign that shows the military is in control of a lot of what you are seeing. Biden's admin is nothing but a continuation of government, but they're the side that's exposing their crimes to the public. They're destroying their system. They're all actors. The ones that aren't, they know what's going on. Continuation of government shows so. Biden has extended every single executive order with national emergencies, and the Executive Order 13912 that federalized the National Guard and Reserves to active duty. Every executive order has expiration dates, so why did he extend policies that don't align with his? Executive Order 13912 didn't set to expire until March 2022. Why did he extend it in 2021? He extended it again in 2022, which now makes the National Guard and Reserves on active duty till March 2024. The Space Force has never been uttered from Biden's mouth. The Space Force articles have never mentioned Joe Biden. The Army transferred all communications to the Space Force in August 2022 for one command. Who's that commander if Joe Biden has never been mentioned by the Space Force? Who established the Space Force as an independent military branch in 2019? Donald Trump. The Air Force did not give Biden the traditional ride into D.C. on January 20th, 2021. Guess who the Space Force is a department of? The Air Force. There's multiple documented pictures on the Flight app of Coast Guard on Navy bases and Navy helicopters on Coast Guard stations. The Coast Guard is a department of Homeland Security during peacetime. They operate under the Navy during times of war. This implies we are at war. The Marines are a department of the Navy. That makes all military branches operating under military operation. Continuation of government, none of which recognize Biden as Commander-in-Chief. In every single National Guard article, Biden has not been mentioned. Not once. Only the Secretary of Defense and or the commanders of the brigade, battalion, or unit. Biden campaigned that he was going to shut down Gitmo, Guantanamo Bay. Why has he not revoked Executive Order 13823, which is Donald Trump's executive order that revoked Obama's executive order to shut it down? If he was president, he would have the same powers and authority as every other president. But it's evident he doesn't, because he's not the president. In fact, he's not even alive, and we'll get to that soon.
Bro, what? He's not even alive. He's just like a meat puppet. What the fuck? Or are they saying that that he has like a
How did President Trump, the military, and his administration know to write every key executive order from 2017 to 2021 with specific dates inside to be activated and enacted on after November 3rd, 2020, and after January 6th, 2021? Military has its own law, the Uniform Code of Military Justice. The Constitution is the highest law in the land, backed by the military. The military came first in our nation. The military was created to make sure the government did not get too radical, hence why they stepped in. This did not just start recently. Our country isn't the country you think it's been. From 2017 to 2021, a lot of you thought that certain key team members, staff, administration, and military turned on them, but they didn't. It was part of an operation. They're called white hat operatives. Optics within optics. If you didn't know about the laws, or if you weren't following the laws being signed from 2017 to 2021, you were blind and fell for the bait as you did with everything you witnessed from January 6th and January 20th to present day.
sick. He didn't break me.
January 6th, 2021. The military expected the 2020 election to be rigged, but to drain the swamp, they had to let it happen. They had to show the American public this way. Mike Lindell's documentary shows the real election results, with almost every state voting for Trump. The Executive Order 13848 issued the first national emergency. Then, on January 6, 2021, Secretary of Defense Christopher Miller activated
what the fuck?
Duty, as was ordered in Executive Order 13919 by President Trump. All of those actions also signified President Trump's war powers of the president via 47 U.S. Code 606, Title 10 of the United States Code, the invoking of the insurrection.
Back on the street.
Title 32 of U.S. Code extended President Trump's power as president according to those codes in Articles 2 and 4 of the Constitution.
Not all of them.
On January 6, 2021, after two objections, an insurrection took place. It wasn't an insurrection. It was all planned. The military was exposing the deep state. Because in our Constitution, in 3 U.S. Code 15, it tells you what was supposed to happen when those objections took place. That didn't happen. When they came back in, they just rushed right on through and counted the votes. They were supposed to go into a special chamber, go read through 3 U.S. Code 15. Congress, Swamp, the Rhinos and Dinos broke 18 U.S. Code 2381, 2384, and 2385, and 52 U.S. Code 20511. Executive Order 13848 traps all governors, attorney generals, secretary of states, judges, and lawyers who do not uphold or apply the laws that were put into place, so they chose what side of the line they were on. To understand further, you can watch my film, The Flight of the Brunson Brothers, a group of 4 famous trumpet-playing brothers who sued Congress for not upholding their oath. Their fight still continues, and you can catch up on that fight on goodlion.tv. The deep state did in fact control the front lines with FBI operatives, getting us to enter the Capitol. I know because I am one. I faced corrupt judges, correctional officers, and lawyers who all tried to bash my spirit, but only made it stronger. These are the corrupt judges and lawyers who chose to stay on their side. They will regret doing so. This is a multi-layered operation of all the things that the swamp is being drained from. January 20th was also a very important day, as it was the funeral of Joe Biden. That's right, all right in front of our faces. Joe Biden's funeral, January 20th, 2021. President Trump received the full military and constitutional regulated inauguration ceremony with the Presidential Salute Battery, 3rd Infantry, also known as the Old Guard, with a 21-gun salute, with the playing of Hail to the Chief as he flew off in Air Force One post 11:59 and 59 seconds a.m., as the 20th Amendment specifically says a president's term is to end and begin at noon. Joe Biden had 3 cannons, 9-second intervals, 21 guns, and the first shot was a dud. So, 20 guns? And this was at Arlington National Cemetery. If you go to arlingtonnationalcemetery.mil, it specifically says the 3 valiant salute is not to be confused with the 21-gun salute. Joseph Biden received a full-grade military funeral service. He didn't get to ride in Air Force One. He raised his right hand at 11:47 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is a violation of the 20th Amendment. Witnessing today is still a continuation of government, aimed to reverse the radical brainwash of propaganda on our nation. You don't just flip a switch to change a public opinion. You orchestrate an entire movie, a show, where the world becomes a stage, in order to create the proper outrage and insight, knowledge that enables people to break away from a hypnosis of division. America is like an innocent child that was kidnapped by a dark satanic cult of criminals and pedophiles, using its power to effect worldwide change in its favor. 10 years ago, not many people grasped this information, but through Trump's presidency,
shit!
The 2020 election, January 6th and January 20th, and the deep state in Ukraine, we've woken up. We've realized blindly putting faith into government has become our greatest fault, and that paying attention matters.
Okay.
The last 100 plus years, Americans were sold to a corporation, losing the true meaning of what being an American is and was all about. Many naysayers out there around the world know nothing about being American, while at the same token, there are just as many patriots in every country of the world because they too have national pride in their country and concede that ridding the deep state of the U.S. is ridding the deep state of the world. You see, we all have something to unite for. We may fear a united one-world government, as we should, but inviting a one-world patriotism is what can unite us all together, rejoining in the fact that we all have our individualism, but our collectivism is what makes us stronger as individuals. Many people stop short at their brief, we're all on the same side rhetoric, yet can one truly watch this entire movie and still believe that? The thirst for knowledge, the hunger to understand, when lost, becomes the closing time for both heart and mind, and it becomes evident. Those are the ingredients that make a doom and gloomer. They stopped their research long ago. But not you. You didn't. You now have the tools to understand everything you are seeing happen around the world. It will take thought. It will take your own research. It may take open-minded conversations, painful ones, but together we are collectively the audience of the greatest show on earth, The Great Awakening. Keyboard warriors knew what to do.
Keyboard warriors. Oh, you fucking douche.
We have talked in this program so far, and you have heard the words about child abuse. A woman by the name of Cheryl Horton and others tell an even more grotesque story, ladies and gentlemen. Having babies to be turned over for human sacrifice to Satan. And we'll deal with that when we come back. I am begging you, if you're a parent and you've got kids there, that this subject is just too upsetting for your young children. Please get them out of the room or change the station. We urge you to exercise parental discretion. It has been established, as you have
what the fuck
already seen on this program, in courts of law now, that human sacrifice is sometimes an element in rituals performed by people calling themselves Satanists. There is no longer any doubt about that, though just how often it actually is done is obviously impossible to know. The ideal sacrifice, we are told, apparently requires babies. And there are those people in satanic sex, including mothers who have belonged who tell of babies being bred for sacrifice. As sickening and unbelievable as it sounds, bearing children for use in satanic rituals may really be happening.
My daughter, who I named Wendy, was sacrificed at birth with an upside-down cross and then taken outside and buried.
What the fuck?
My son, they kept and let live till 2 years old, and then he was sacrificed.
Michael and I had a son, and he was dedicated to Satan at birth, and at 6 months of age, he was sacrificed to Satan.
What the fuck?
It is most common for the heart to be taken from the child and offered to Satan.
These women say they speak from personal experience. They claim to be breeders, forced by covens to bear children, both as a way for the cults to get new members and...
That's creepy as fuck. I want to know where this is from.
Ready, boss? We got a lot.
I wish that this had like audio of what they were saying.
Ready, boss? We got a lot of things to name today. Let's dive right in. All right. The first.
And to find fresh victims for ritual murder. Did you give birth to infants who were sacrificed?
My first two
Were sacrificed?
were sacrificed. I was told it was the highest honor I could ever do as a woman, was to sacrifice my first two.
And you did that?
I was so brainwashed, I believed
What the fuck?
their philosophy.
Jackie tells us she was able to escape her satanic cult. Today she helps other women, like Donna, who are trying to break free. You killed your
Bro,
baby?
where is this from? Where is this from?
Take the skin off.
Yeah, I don't want to watch
skinned
this.
the baby? You take the baby's skin off?
This is making me sick.
Do you feel remorse? Have you told the police?
I had to do what I had to do, or I'd be killed like the babies that they made me watch killed. And that they put in my hand, they said, obey or this is you.
Jackie, you have some pictures drawn during the therapy sessions by the people who've been through this. Why don't you show me some of them?
This picture is a person remembering.
Yeah. What the fuck? This is some crazy shit on this on this channel. What the fuck? What is Zionism? What is the time?
One simple but brilliant trick to heat your home in 90 seconds and save thousands of dollars on your heating bill this winter. This genius way to heat any room for almost zero cost is taking over the market like crazy in the US. An ingenious college kid from Fairbanks, Alaska, just destroyed the billion-dollar heating industry by building a device that can heat any room 90% cheaper than traditional heating methods. Martin designed the invention after budget cuts left his school with a broken heating system in freezing cold winters. He and his fellow classmates had to study for their exams in.
What is Zionism? Zionism is a political and national movement aimed at creating and sustaining a Jewish state in the Middle East. Now, according to many traditional and Orthodox Jewish teachings, Jews are forbidden by God to have their own state until their Messiah comes. But this hasn't stopped Zionism from pushing towards that very goal. So where did this all start? Let's go back to 1897. A man named Theodor Herzl formed the World Zionist Organization. He
You
advocated
attack
for the
purple.
creation of a
You have more fucking troops than me, you dumb cunt.
Jewish state in Palestine, and is even mentioned in the Israeli Declaration of Independence. It was tough to
attack pink. There's no pink.
Be a Jew in Europe in that time, with anti-Semitic sentiments rising. Herzl felt the only way for his people to live in peace was for them to have their own country. Palestine was chosen, and a popular slogan started spreading around the world. A land without a people, for a people without a land. The only problem was, Palestine wasn't a land without a people. A large number of Muslims and Christians, along with a smaller number of Jews, had been living there together in peace for centuries. But for many Christian Zionists living in the West and Jewish Zionists living in Europe, that made little difference. Following the fall of the Ottoman Empire at the end of World War I, and along with British support, Jewish immigration to the newly British-occupied Palestine was steady in the early 20th century. Then there was a turning point. World War II. Following the Holocaust, the flow of Jews to occupied Palestine grew, and many Western countries began backing the idea of a Jewish state in Palestine. Although a UN resolution recommended both an independent Arab and Jewish state in the region, Israel went ahead and declared their independence in 1948 and was recognized by US President Harry Truman that very same day. The Zionist movement had achieved its main victory. In the period after its establishment, Israel carried out an invasion of neighboring countries, and at the end of 1967's Six-Day War, Israel extended its control in the region, displacing countless Christian and Muslim Palestinians. A year later, the 28th World Zionist Congress adopted the Jerusalem Program, a list of 5 goals, which are the current makeup of modern Zionism: the unity of the Jewish people and the centrality of Israel in Jewish life, the ingathering of the Jewish people in its historic homeland, the strengthening of the State of Israel, which is based on the prophetic vision of justice and peace, the preservation of the identity of the Jewish people through the fostering of Jewish and Hebrew education,
He kind
and
of
the
chose who
protection
won.
of Jewish
Purple
rights
did.
everywhere. In practice, their goals of justice and peace have been lost to many of the non-Jewish people living in the region. The Israeli military has been illegally controlling and occupying much of Palestine, and constant new illegal settlement building on Palestinian land by the Zionist state has been condemned by much of the international community. So what do you think about Zionism?
This guy might be he's at least an expert. He's a master, yeah. Shit. All right. Well, I'm done.